already noticed that, so. Gonna run here's some links to the road there. What's over there?
Oh, is that a new shirt you're wearing?
The green shirt. Did you like it?
I did, looks nice, yeah. Looks nice.
Does have a space is
Professional and
looks fun.
warm and.
It's the vibe, very looking at all the stuff.
Well.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
What's that?
What time is on? Dan?
Hey, how are you? Good, how are you doing?
what's your time zone?
It's about, yeah, it's 11 o'clock at night.
Awesome, so bad. Where's he at?
I'll be filming till about 4 o'clock in the morning.
There's some big countries, so I don't know if it's east or west, but. How many time zones are there in Turkey?
I'm in Hungary, actually.
Oh, Hungary. Oh, jeez. That's
I think there's only one. It's not a super big,
No.
geographically. But I mostly spend all my time in a rock quarry, so I haven't really seen much. And I'm actually blowing off Ron Howard for you guys, just so you know. I had to send my number 2 guy to go talk to him about something. So you guys should know you trump Ron Howard.
They look great, sir.
Yes.
Hello. Not that she would show those, yeah. Sarah, you're right.
Don't worry.
I'm gonna figure out. What to do with my house.
I know. You can always take it from there. It's here and then I went.
Oh my gosh, books.
How long have you been here?
Not hung up. Well, too long, what is it?
Well, not long enough. to have enough firm.
So I just unplugged it.
Oh.
Oh.
I just slipped the poster because of this. Oh, shoot. Oh, yeah, look, we're frozen. It's fine.
It does actually kind of slide. Know how it does.
What? Oh, you did? Oh, shoot. Okay.
What do you think, right here?
Yeah.
This is good. Fire alarm.
Is this long?
What? Is it her? Howdy. What's up? I don't. I mean, not what, we may be live.
We're up.
Or it's even better food for our city. Yeah, we always want the best. I don't know, I say some folks out there, it's better than number. I really like the Bible, so they have this.
A little, there's
Like
a
a-
lot of.
Under each of the guns on big cameras is like.
Oh, yeah, look at them.
Well, the snowboarders are psyched they're here today, you know?
It takes a shovel to build a jump out there right now, they got a couple.
Oh, yeah.
On Course Bridge? Oh, yeah.
I mean, I like,
Always.
they're just driving by and so there's lots of, there's a lot of cars and getting on.
From now till June.
There's perception.
First year.
Yeah, just play one number, or no. Oh, yeah, she could just over there. She's just watching.
Yeah.
Was in a meeting off, on my way down from Big Pot and all that. Roger, I didn't really look that. I was so sorry that it sounds small.
Oh, that worked.
Yeah,
Put my glasses on.
Oh, good. so I brought mine.
I do thoughts.
Supposed to be like, and they were sending all these pictures, like, oh, it's so great. things that could be here.
We can see it.
We're expecting, Lisa.
Yes,
Okay, good.
I haven't heard otherwise.
It's like a
Um,
3 second.
no, hold up.
And John in person?
Um,
No, I'm pretty sure John is like, the last I thought was on you and say, and during 2015. Or being. Headed towards.
Crazy.
it is 3 and we do have a quorum, so let's start.
Okay, we have two more.
Yes.
Because.
Dan?
And-
Okay, so let's just.
Yeah, I've never seen that. It's flying. He's definitely flying right today.
Okay.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, welcome to the work session. The Alpha Town Council on November 11th. It's 3 p.m. And we're gonna have a discussion regarding the proposed FY25 budget amendments among the town council. I want to point out that Dan Jillian is with us online, and I believe John is with us online, is he not?
I'm just planning on it.
Yeah, I know he's planning on it.
Is Elise there too, or do we not have her?
Elise is not, has not,
Are you allowed to text John and ask him if he's joining fast?
Yes.
I don't think we're.
Elise is not shown yet, but I think we are expecting her. But in the meantime, let's start the public hearing on proposed FY25 budget amendments. And say, is there an introduction that?
Work session, Chris and I think are gonna do it together.
Okay, good.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, there you are. I was like, I didn't see that.
There you are.
But
Grabbing the water. So.
first off, I apologize to anyone that I created confusion for. This one does say November 12th. Some of the documents in this meeting, I put November 11th by mistake. I just must have had some dyslexic moment. So, anyways, when we adopt stuff and formalize stuff, I will make all those corrections when they need to be. So I apologize if anybody was looking stuff and they got confused about what it was or when this meeting was being held. Budget amendment. We previewed this at the last council meeting, and Chris and I just wanted to give the council another opportunity to discuss the matter before we ask for a vote on it later in the meeting. The main highlights, they're really pretty modest and not that many, but I kind of summarized them in the third staff report. In the general fund, you know, we did not successfully go through the truth in taxation process, as we've discussed. I don't have the clicker. The clicker. And so this budget amendment will reduce the property tax revenue back to what it was last year, so going back to that 400,000 number. We did receive a couple grants that it addresses, and it also addresses the bringing on a full-time building maintenance staff person.
We lost Dan.
Okay. This is a work session, so is that okay?
Have a quorum.
Okay, for work session.
For anything.
Thank you, Brooke, very much for that.
Should lock.
Should we
We're
text
lost, Dan.
Elise?
We lost Dan, yeah.
Do you think Elise knows this? And we texted John, then started.
Sorry, I'm trying to do a few things, no, I have not.
I'm happy to text them both, I just thought it was against the rules.
No, it's just.
You're not supposed to text each other during the meeting, right?
Yeah.
And it's technically.
I'm doing it.
Don't wanna get fired.
Right.
No, I was trying to do it before and then I just stood up. Wait, are you doing that? Okay, we have a work session at 3, and we don't know. Okay. Okay, yeah. That's good.
Keep watching.
Lisa's gonna join us. On Zoom.
Say again?
Elisa's gonna join us in her movement in this direction.
I see.
She
Mobile,
moves this way.
a mobile,
Ugh.
just, got it.
She misunderstood the time. Instruction.
I mean, she could do it telephonically if
She's-
if you have her on the phone. We could just put.
I think she's in the process of joining, so I should have thought that, sorry. Let's just let this play out now that it's going in this direction.
There's John
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
and Elise.
good.
Perfect.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Can hear you. We can hear you.
Hi,
What
can you hear me now?
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, me too.
I thought we were 3:30. I'm so sorry.
Awesome.
Okay. John, what continent are you on?
I'm in, we're in the Bahamas, almost back to Florida.
Okay, all right.
After weathering, we had 20 to 25-foot seas all the way from Gibraltar.
Jesus.
So it was rocking and rolling.
Spicy.
Rock.
Yeah,
roll.
spicy.
And Elise is en route, or
She's on
Elise, talk about your status.
I'm en route. I'm so sorry. Like I said, I thought it was at 3:30.
Well, I think that we can proceed, and Dan is not with us. He
Let's see.
dropped off.
She's trying that.
What the door?
He did.
But we have a quorum, so we can.
Yes, all right, proceed, please.
That was Connie Marshall.
Are we starting with the November budget amendments?
We are.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I was just going over a high level overview of what the changes were. Which include in the general fund, the adjustment for the reduction in property tax. Bringing on a full-time building maintenance person and receiving a couple of grants. That's the highest level picture of what it looks like. In the capital projects fund, we are reducing the income coming in from the general fund, and we are changing some things up so that we can purchase some radios for the Alta Marshall vehicles that addresses a need that they have.
Okay,
And then in the water fund, the main change is to make an adjustment to carry forward funds from the previous fiscal year that were unused, already budgeted for that project. And then we added some funds because we had to do a change order just to some of the delays in the project, or I don't know if that's the right way to frame it, Chris, probably not, but
No, yeah, that's about right. We had to, I approved the change order on the Crossbow project to account for some technical items that we didn't think Newman would have to do that they did. So it was a $20,000, the whole thing was 20 grand, I think, for that additional scope, and then also the remobilization costs to start over in the springtime, since we're not gonna be able to finish the project. So it's really, it's not a huge impact on the total project and budget, but we had the budget pretty tight. The water and sewer fund are always very tight, particularly when we're doing, $600,000 projects, and so that's the reason for that change.
we did put a presentation in the packet that I think, I guess I'd just like to open it up to questions from the council, you know, this is your opportunity to ask us questions and to share your thoughts, and honestly, if we. You know, we don't have to have a super long dialogue on this if we want to move to the next agenda item too, but this is an opportunity for you to ask us questions if you'd like.
I think I could summarize this by saying that we've effectively deferred about 100K of income to the town by a year. Is that?
Well, that was a big thing, yeah, that not going through the truth of taxation, not,
I'm not, that wasn't meant to be a criticism, that was meant to just be an observation.
It's an interesting way to put it, but I don't necessarily know if I agree with it. And we'll have to make the decision again, and
Yeah.
anything could come up in the meantime to affect that decision, and it's $100,000 we didn't collect, and in order to make up to adjust property taxes next year to make up for the revenue we didn't collect, we'd have to double the increase in revenue. So, and I don't think there's a way to just get that additional $100,000 in arrears, and then we'd have to go through truth. Well, we would most likely carry forward that larger property tax revenue increase in future years, and so that would be a bigger decision. So, yeah, fortunately, it's not, as we've discussed, it's just not a huge impact to the bottom line. But you know, it's our most stable and dependable revenue source for the time being. So we wanna get what we plan for.
yeah.
And we learned
I mean, the main thing is we've reduced the projected transfer to the capital projects fund. That was a tool we used to manipulate all these numbers to have a balanced budget.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's not deferred revenue, it's revenue that was lost. And
Correct.
next year, we should pursue truth and taxation again, but the $100,000 we lost this year, it's not really recoverable.
Elise, you have anything to say about this issue?
Not right now.
Okay.
Okay, well then I guess I would propose that we move on to the next agenda item and
All
Well-
right.
then we'll resume this. Okay.
Well, I have
Just add
a one sort of macro point that might be easier to make here than in the meeting, just because the meeting's gonna be the meeting. I'm struggling to, and I spent a couple hours yesterday and even got my forensic accountant involved trying to figure it out. These balance sheet adjustments, handling more and more of our transactions, interfund transactions as balance sheet adjustment is really making it hard to reconcile the financials. I had to go all the way back to the May package, which presented the April financials, to be able to reconcile a month. And then I couldn't reconcile it with where we are today. And that's because this year, the balance sheet adjustments, I think, are going to be quite large. It's a bit of a guess because we don't really have much discussion about it. And in the end, I'm going to advocate that we start having some sort of exhibit that speaks to anticipated balance sheet adjustments for the current fiscal, because without it, you really can't reconcile the numbers. And this year, I think the balance sheet adjustments could be as much as $1.7 million. And so that's half our budget that you just don't know where it is. And so I'm not suggesting there's any malfeasance or missing money, but I like to reconcile month to month, and you just can't do it. So I think at some point, I noticed that the combined fund balance page, which I was scrambling to find the page in the Cassell pack, one of the first pages in the Cassell pack, that's really kind of no longer relevant, that page, because you've opened TIF accounts for each of the individual funds. So the old, well, it's all in this account, and then this page shows what goes out, all the money's in the general fund, TIF, and then all the money goes out to these different funds. That's not really relevant anymore. So I think that page needs to get updated, and I'd suggest that we consider updating it to track a balance sheet adjustments, because they've become really a pretty significant number for us. And so I just throw that out. Jen, do you have any comment on that?
I do the due tos, due froms every month after I do my bank rec. That's been my process, and that's between the capital projects fund, the water fund, the sewer fund, and the general fund. So I'm doing those on a monthly basis, and I don't know if that's part of what's adjusting this, or I think you're talking at a higher level than what I'm touching in the financials. We're on a Steve Rowley.
Right, I think so too. And I think the plan with balance sheet adjustments, because they started off as being a fairly small number last year, at least initially, it was just the water fund loan. And you say, oh, 50 grand is important, but it isn't that important. Yeah, you could sort of live with the fact that we just really didn't see it affecting the bank balances till later. And I think the plan was to sort of wait till the end of the current fiscal, and then when the audit comes out, that's when we would see it. Well, that's like 18 months after it happened. And if it's 50 grand, I guess I don't really care. But if it's $1.5 million or $1.7 million, 18 months is too long not to see that. And so I guess what I would suggest at some point, or we try to get Steve to migrate us towards, is a quarterly reconciliation of the balance sheet adjustments. Doesn't have to be monthly, but quarterly would work. And it could come out as a draft reconciliation. You can still have the final adjustments be, held back until the audit. But with the much larger number at stake now, I think 18 months is too long for us to be in the dark as to how we're handling these bigger transactions.
Brady, you want to say anything about that?
No, it makes sense. I think quarterly is probably the way to come at it.
Yeah, I do too.
Anything else?
I just wanted to address this proposal to add an FTE in the form of a facilities manager. It is one of the highlights of the budget amendment to add that roughly 60 grand in new expenses. So we backed out some existing expenses and combined them with the labor costs and the benefits that we haven't paid to part-time folks in the past. And we took really positive feedback from the last council meeting about doing this. We don't, as of now, we're joking about the state of the snowpack out there, and over here in the south facing, we don't have any snow around our buildings. We don't have people in snow removal positions other than to cover like maybe a couple of days a week at this point. So we're really looking forward to getting that notice, the job listing post, by the beginning of next week, hopefully, so we can fill that gap.
Great.
So thanks for your support on that.
Have you put out an application and like?
No, we're waiting for the council to approve this in the budget, and then we are ready to.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we're waiting for you guys to give us the thumbs up.
Okay,
So,
okay.
And the thumbs up comes later in the.
Yeah, when we have to, I'll say yes.
It was actually this that triggered my deep dive into balance sheet adjustments. I have a short example. So the bank statement says we have 3.7 million in the general fund. Okay. But if there's 1.7 million of adjustments that we know are going to happen this year off balance sheet that are going to reduce that 3.7 million, that's the number you should look at when we make the decisions to spend another 100 grand on this or 100 grand on that. And so that's the impetus behind me suggesting we do the balance sheet adjustments quarterly, so that the bank balance will get adjusted on more of an ongoing basis, because right now it's a little misleading. Like, I'm still in favor of this. I'm in favor of all the changes Jen's proposing, and I'm gonna vote that way. But it's a bit of a pig in a poke, because you don't know what the existing bank balance is. And it really struck me this month as to the 3,000,007 isn't really 3,000,007. It's 3,000,007 less anticipated balance sheet adjustments, and those I think are going to be 1,000,007 in their own right this year. So the balance is really like $2 million, and that's like half a year's reserve. So that's kind of a different picture than just looking at the 3,000,007 number and saying, "Oh, we got 3,000,007 in the bank." Really, I think if we could tune in on this a little better, we'd see that the real number is probably about 2 million in the bank. And, this whole let's use payday, let's use the money in the reserve and all that trick's going away here pretty quickly. And I think it's something we need to keep an eye on, because you sort of get happy juice when you see that it's 3,000,007. You say, "Oh, well, 100 grand, well, it doesn't really matter." But now that we're getting down towards 6 months of reserve in that number, I think we need to figure out how to more closely track what the general fund balance is going to be at the end of the year. And by keeping the balance sheet adjustments up to date more regularly, that would get us to that point where we would be able to predict the general fund balance at the end of the year.
Okay. I don't see any objection to your suggestion,
Thanks.
so. Nor do we have to vote on it. It's a suggestion.
Johnston.
Okay. I think that brings us to the end of item 1, discussion regarding the proposed FY 25 budget amendments. So let's move to, item 2. Let's move to item 3, discussion of the Transit Estates proposal to rezone a portion of the Patsy Marley Hill property and amend the 2014 development agreement. Chris, you gonna start this?
Sure, yeah. I think this would just be a brief intro. Opening, I wanted to give these guys an opportunity to address you. Partially because in the September last, we heard from the Transit Estate to discuss this topic. In a council meeting was in September. Spent almost 2 hours on the topic back in September. And I know I regret a little bit that we weren't a little bit more prepared to have a facilitated discussion. We give these guys a chance to kind of get through their whole piece. And I think many of us agree that we really got through many of the substantive issues in the meeting last month, but it's such a complex proposal. I don't know how it would take a long time to get through all the substantive issues that the proposal brings up adequately. So probably won't do that in the course of this meeting either, but it is important to me to let these guys kind of say what they feel the need to say, and then hopefully, the council can just let them get through their what they want to say, and then start Q&A. And I hope the council will just take this opportunity to think about, what's most important to you that this proposal brings up. And I think there's some value in having as substantive a discussion as we can on key issues on the record in this meeting. We will have to continue working with the Transit Estate in the future, regardless of what happens to this rezone proposal, whether that is a project similar to what's being proposed today, a residential subdivision or something else entirely. So it's really important to me that we maintain professional working relationship with these individuals and the estate itself. So that's really all I wanted to say to kick this off virtually. So I think we're going to hear from Doug. I don't know, Roger, if you want to say anything, or Polly, if you want to say anything maybe outside.
I do want to say something. Which is a reminder. When people come before this body, we expect them to, without prompting, follow the ordinary and commonly accepted rules for civil discussion. These rules include, but are not limited to, not interrupting or talking over the commissioners or members of the staff when they're speaking. In short, you can say anything you want, but not whenever you want. So the last time this group addressed the council, those rules were violated. And I would request that those transgressions not be repeated.
Okay. You guys wanna take it away? Sure. All right. Thanks for it. Honorable Mayor, council members, thank you for your time today. I wasn't here at the September 10th meeting, but I got a report of all that transpired. As I've indicated with discussions with your staff and in our prior discussions, and thank you.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Again, Wade Budge, here representing the state.
Okay.
Yeah, nice to speak with you again.
Okay.
So as we mentioned in our prior meetings and in our public meeting that we had in March at Lady of Our Snows, we have worked hard for the last 2.5, almost 3 years on a proposal to see if there would be a way to do an upzone that would facilitate a different project that would concentrate the talent in connection with the conservation agreement. And as I mentioned to your legal counsel yesterday in correspondence, we are ending where we began, which is this, and that is this deal would only ever work if we had a coalition of the willing. And based on what we understood from last month, and again, I was not there, but I've been able to listen and see the tape. This isn't something that feels comfortable or right to this council, and as a result, I don't know that there's anything more forward or to do. Other than to have you act on the petition that's pending. Our hope was that we would be able to provide significant public benefits that would entice the consolidation of the project into one area. But we understand there's significant concerns and there's no way to force this on this because this is a 3-party agreement. And while we've worked to ameliorate or address concerns as they've arisen with public utilities, we've also attempted to do that with the town. We've submitted term sheets. We've provided those in April of this year that outline the various specifics and the mechanics that would need to be undertaken to facilitate the rezone. But again, this is not something that gets forced. We already have a project that's entitled. We'll move forward with that project, but we tried to entice this town to take a look at this alternative. And there's no sense to come in here and try and be a supplicant or try to seek something from you all that you're not willing to give. And we can't fault you because what we were presenting to you was a political item. It could only be resolved by a political body, and that's this body that's elected. And if you, in exercising your political judgment, decide you don't want to do it, that's your prerogative, and there's not a legal cause of action or something else coming out of that. That's just the your decision. And so what was left undone from the 10th was there was no action taken. So we've asked that action be taken so that we can move on to the next phase. We did nevertheless provide a presentation that is in the staff report. It's similar to the ones that have been presented to Planning Commission and others that goes over the details. But as you will know from just interacting and monitoring this matter over the last 2.5 to 3 years, we started with the prior mayor, we worked with your mayor, we've iterated over various designs, we've worked with the state, we've worked with Salt Lake Public Utilities, we've hired professionals to come out and show to your planning commission and other interested parties the height of the project with drone simulations. And we've worked through term sheets and all those details, but again, in the end, it's your call one way or the other, and we appreciate your respectful consideration. And we'll be prepared to answer questions as they might arise. And thank you to all of you.
You've actually understated how long this has been an issue.
Well, I guess, yeah, I guess it's a whole century. Yeah,
4 years.
That's fair, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, in real terms, we you know, in 2014, we entered into the agreement on February 14th, which those of us who were in attendance will never forget. Mike Mott's predecessor was here with me, Anna.
And we worked through all those details, and then subsequent to that, we had to deal with litigation that resulted and was anticipated. We worked our way through the litigation. And then we had to work through the Forest Service, and we worked through the Forest Service, and then we had the inkling, hey, is there a way to make it better? And that's the journey we took ourselves down. And you're right, it commenced with the prior mayor, so that was more than 2.5 years ago. And then we had meetings during COVID and masks to talk about water and all the rest, and so. But what I wanna present to you is this, because I agree with what Chris said, you know, we're not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere, we have to work with each other, so let's make sure we're just being very candid, cards face up. And this isn't something we're gonna force on you, and we're not so dense as to not be able to interpret or appreciate the concerns that were raised in September, and just wanted to end with that comment, so thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
open for discussion, among the council persons.
That's you good. We're here to have the president.
Or,
Oh, you guys not gonna do a presentation?
Well, I think you got vocally representing the estate, so we're. It's a way it's said, I'm just. You can do on the share screen.
We have it up if
You got it
you,
up there, so. You think I'm qualified to operate it? Perfect. So anyway, yeah, the proposal that we've, Wade and Zach and I have spent the past 5 years looking at is whether there's the opportunity to consolidate development at the bottom of the site. And for the conservation easement on the top 20 acres of the site. We understand from House Ski Lifts at the September meeting and subsequent correspondence that they're very concerned about the possibility of a conservation easement prohibiting ski lifts. Salt Lake Public Utilities, on the other hand, is requiring a prohibition on ski lifts as a condition of that conservation easement. The proposal is to rezone approximately 6 acres to the site, 4 acres below the road, and 1.5 acres above the road that still be restricted by the conservation easement. And of that 4 acres, it's about 2 acres in the bottom or the southwest corner that would be the site for a condominium building, which basically steps down with the topography. The ridgeline proposed is 25 feet above the road. We proposed various density constraints on it. One of the benefits we see for the community of this project is, we recognize Alpha Ski Lifts has got property rights across our property, but we're fairly confident that we could actually come up with a parallel driveway situation that respects Alpha Ski Lifts requirements and basically protects the status quo and the summer road. The current 2014 entitlement is for 10 single-family home sites and parking for 20 vehicles. The parking structure rendered here is bigger than 20 vehicles. The alternative is the condominium building at the southwest corner of the property. So ultimately, we're really at a fork in the road going backwards. We're at a fork in the road going, is it the will of council to proceed with the 10 home sites that were entitled back in 2014? Or would the town council prefer to pursue the condominium proposal that's in front of you? We've been very clear since March that we're not entertaining any further reductions in mass of that building. But we have conceded that we would work with the parallel driveway, which seems to be very important to many of the stakeholders in the valley. So ultimately, it's happy to answer questions you might have on the proposal to better understand, but I think that was this thing. That's ultimately the decision before council. We appreciate it. Your time, your staff's time, your legal counsel's time, and working with us over the past 4 years as we tried to bring this proposal forward to see what something the community preferred.
any questions of Doug?
I have a naive question that I know you have addressed previously, and I apologize for not knowing. With the 10 homes, what's the agreement with the parking? Versus what's the agreement with the parking with the condominiums?
The parking would be required per town code, I believe it's 2 stalls per dwelling unit.
That's in the FM zone, yeah.
Uncovered,
Which would all be underneath the building, it would be under, be structured parking underneath the project.
underneath
It's gonna be
condominium.
on the property. That's
Okay.
just the way it works in the zoning district and there, the way they've drawn up the building is that the parking would be underground.
So for the 10 snowcat, for the 10. Single family home sites, in winter, those are snowcat in, snowcat out lots. So the 2014 entitlement allows us to create covered parking for 20 vehicles. Which would be anticipated at the, basically right where the summer road crosses onto the property. We've previously shown renderings of a structure that's bigger than that, but that was not something that's been previously approved.
Yeah, the development agreement says 20 spots which may be covered, and then there are a couple references to parking on the plat that's an exhibit to the development.
Elise or John, or is Dan back with us? Okay.
He said 45 minutes.
He said what?
He said he had to leave for 45 minutes.
I see, okay. He's shooting a
Without
movie
fire.
in shoot Istanbul.
Best.
John, you should go.
You're muted.
I should go.
There it is.
Do you have?
I'll keep it short and sweet. You know, Chris and I had some good interaction on this in the last week, and it really kind of brought it down to the simplest terms for me. There isn't really clarity on the water issue and this whole the plan B, if it turns out that this isn't enough water, and then there's the access issue, and that's tied to some other issues. But you know, even if there was clarity on those issues, the building's still too tall. And I, just being honest and direct with you, I wouldn't vote to support the upzone proposal based on the height of the building. And so I've kind of let go of my concerns about the other periphery kind of issues. And for me, it's the height of the building that's the deciding factor. Do you want to go, Elise?
Can you roughly compare the building height or the building mass to other buildings in this community?
I have not done those calculations.
Okay,
Ultimately, we looked at the base facility zone, which capped the building height 25 feet above the state highway there. So we, proposed a building height cap of 25 feet above the summer road on the property. The proposed density was capturing the same amount of saleable square footage as the 10 single family home sites would, but in a condominium building, which by its very nature has common areas and circulation spaces and other such things. So there's benefits to the condominium project, which is, a better, access, separation of vehicle access and snowed access to the whole housing, basically the area, and conservation of 20 acres above. There's advantages to the single family home site application, so it's the prerogative of council which direction you'd like to go.
I think the slope of the lot has created, that the base facility zone height restrictions work because the property's all abut the road, the town road. And the slope of the lot is such that you've been able to pull the building down the slope quite a bit, and then they're proposing a building that gets it back above the height of the road that it's displaced from. And, I can see where that came from, but honestly, it's the view from the downhill side that's the issue. It's the idea that we're going to have a giant tower, a tower like the Cliff Hotel kind of tower is what the rest of us are going to see, since essentially all of us except Roger live on the downhill side of the thing. When we look up at it from Carolyn's house or all the residential housing in Alta, really, it's gonna be this enormously high, 110-foot, 108-foot glass tower. And that's what just feels inappropriate. So I get it that you were technically complying, but it's resulted in this steel and glass tower that's just really unacceptable.
I agree with that comment. I believe that my understanding of the mass is that it's approximately twice the size of the snow pine, not just the height, but the body.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny that. I haven't studied William, so by.
Just doesn't fit with our community.
I think for me, I'm kind of similar with John, that I have a lot of concerns about the water, I have a lot of concerns about access. For this proposal. Our planning commission is made up of. The way we've constructed our planning commission is they're essentially made up of what I refer to as specialists, we have an architect, we have. Different people on that planning commission that have more expertise in certain things than like I do, for example, and they did set. Conditions or a criteria for the project, like one of them is height, there's a couple of them. And so I do really respect those conditions that they set for the project, because I do believe that they have a lot of views and a perspective that I maybe wouldn't know enough about. And also, I think 25 feet above the main highway and the base facility zone, it makes sense, this is a facility zone. Where you're proposing off the summer road is also just another, and like Carolyn and John, it's. Even though it's not that much farther off the edge of the road, our town isn't very big, it's a very different area of. Our forested town and a different view from home run if you were seen by the building. I'll be honest, when I first heard about the concentrated development, a year or two ago, I was very excited for this proposal. I agree. Excited that this was gonna happen. I still would love to keep having talks with you guys and see if we can work out something that would work for a project like this, but it sounds like, like what Wade said, that we are at a point where you guys have gone far enough on this. And so, yeah, I'm again just stopped with the height and size of the building as well as water and access and stuff.
Yeah, and ultimately, the state has to respect the financial.
Yeah.
The financial needs of the property. It's a very expensive place to build, it's a complicated project, and ultimately. We've gone through 5 years studying this, and the estate needs to move forward, we're done studies.
Any other comments, by any of us? Okay, I think that what I have to say has already been said by the others here. So I don't feel a need to repeat those. And I think that probably brings us to the end of the work session on Sean's estate proposal.
Thank you.
Okay. And we have no other agenda items for the work session, except a motion to adjourn, which will give us a 15-minute break.
Yes, 7 minutes.
7.
A 7-minute break.
It's
Oh, I'm
50.
sorry, yes,
It's 50.
3:50. All right.
Do we ever acknowledge the, I guess I'd like to formally acknowledge the fact that Wasatch Front Country submitted I thought a really thoughtful letter.
Yes.
And the lift company also submitted a thoughtful letter regarding this proposal, and I appreciate the community input. And I also received a phone call today from a community member, so. Although it may look when you say, hey, what do you want, 1 building or 10 buildings? I do think that they're really the support of the community is not to have that building there, so I think there's a misrepresentation. Sorry if I talked out of turn.
Oh, you're in turn.
Since we're workshopping, it was interesting in that
Yes.
Wasatch Backcountry letter that really their angst, I think, was originated over their concern for the ski area expanding into Grizzly Gulch. And I think a few meetings ago, I think there was unanimity amongst us that we didn't want to preclude the ski area from eventually expanding if it saw fit. I think it's hard to I think Mike's done a great job in protecting the user experience, continues to focus on protecting the user experience. And we can't expect him to continue to do that if we shut off the avenues for sensible expansion. And so I think it was interesting to me that was how Wasatch Backcountry came at it, because it seems like we kind of felt the opposite. But
Hey, Dan, you haven't been exposed to the last 45 minutes or so, but I think you understand the gist of this. Would you like to make any comments on this?
I mean, I appreciate Carolyn's comments, and I think John's. I read through all the comments before and the submissions from the parties. I'm sorry I had to dash off, but I think we do have a good unified voice, and I'll be interested to see where we go from here.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn the
Are you
work session.
Yes, all right.
I second it.
All in favor? We're adjourned, and we will reconvene at 3:50.
4 minutes.
do I need a different link?
Yeah, can we stay on the
we're
same
gonna
Zoom?
keep everything open.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you guys over there. Okay. It's fine. Already have your breath.
4 minutes.
Are we gonna meet our new officer?
Yes.
Good. Sorry,
That's okay.
I have been onboarding and doing orientation for 150 people and I'm really hurt, so.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Do the first one.
It's
I'm glad you picked up your phone. Thank you.
I made way.
To walk up here and I saw you and I was like, oh.
Well, we had Dan and then
I
believe.
I
And
just
so-
saw 30,
And
I'm glad,
John came around.
I'm glad you called up.
I worked out. I worked out.
He said 3 things. This is kind of me. Like song brain, work brain. 45-year-old.
I got all that. It's very cool.
Rick, I was gonna leave. No. We were hiring in this, when I first saw the name, I was like. Different person.
Are you guys all hired up?
No. And it's like. Bring somebody, if they, like, find out. Everything else, come in. It's a good concept. Everything.
That's.
But we had physical screens and everything, but it's not really stuff, but I've been.
I couldn't. Right? I say. Nice. You kept calling.
Here.
That's good tonight.
Great.
It's this.
Army, statistic. Only 5%. So, yeah.
Just
All
one
right.
single class.
Let us resume here. We're actually
You need to get.
yeah. All right, there we go. So I'd like to call to order the public hearing. Agenda item, and we'll accept the public comments regarding the Shawanta State proposal to rezone a portion of Patsy Marley Hill property and amend the 2014 development agreement. We have, as was pointed out in the last meeting, a written statement by Wasatch Bank Country Alliance on their position. Would anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about here. My name is Danny Fourier. I'm the director of Wasatch Backcountry Alliance. I think I've met most of you. And in response to the comment about Alta Ski Lift's expansion goals, Wasatch Backcountry Alliance, like many of our other organizations, we have a mission, right? And our mission as the Wasatch Backcountry Alliance is to protect that balance between resort terrain and the backcountry terrain. And so those comments simply express that balance. I will say I'll take my WBA hat off now and put on my hat as an Alta pass holder. Nobody likes ultimatums, right? Like I think of when my partner says, we're doing yard work today or we're cleaning the garage. I'm like, I don't want to do either. I'm gonna have to do one of those. It makes me want to fight it even more. And I think that's a lot of us here in the community and the council members feel that way, right? Like we're not super jazzed about either one of these, but one of them is gonna happen. Upper Little Cotton Canyon is so special. I don't need to tell any of you that. That's why you live, play, work here. And one of the things that makes it so special is the adjacent world-class ski resort terrain to the open space. And that's personally what I love about Upper Little Cottonwood. Some of my favorite days at Alta are skiing the wind off the high T. Those days are typically visible in the backcountry, and it's just so special that we have the ability to do both. And when I talk to my friends who work or ski at Alta, a lot of them who don't even backcountry ski, kind of chatting through these proposals with them, a lot are in favor of the condo development. They feel that it is more in spirit with the town of Alta. Really simply due to the fact that it's compact, and if you look out there, it's kind of where existing development already is, you know, adjacent to the grooming cat house, to the new addition on the Albion Day Lodge. And you know, doing a quick Google search, I found that the average home size in the colony at the canyons is over 9,000 square feet. That data came from homes.com, which uses public real estate records. And I think when we think about 10 homes that are over 8,000 square feet, that's huge. And that feels a lot more like a development that you find at the colony and canyons, Park City, and less so what you'd expect to see here in the town of Alta. So I really hope that the town can move forward and consider the opportunity that exists to put forth a conservation easement. I'm not anti-ski resort, I'm an Alta pass holder, and I think, you know, protecting the Alta magic. I think this is a great example of how the town can kind of direct that without necessarily hurting anyone, but kind of working together to figure out what the community would like to see. So that's me as Danny, just a skier and pass holder, not Wasatch Backcountry Alliance. So thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Any other public comments?
I think.
Yeah, Jack?
Oh, first I'm good.
Yeah. Well, my name is Jack Stouts, and I'm the executive director of Save Our Games.
I am new to this space, making public comments, so I won't be nearly as eloquent as my colleague Danny was. But I am not new to Alta, the town, or the ski hill, or the surrounding backcountry areas. I've lived in the Wasatch Front since 2008 and have spent countless days exploring, recreating, loving this place and building a really deep connection to and passion for it. Which is what led me to, over a bunch of years, to this role here at Sabre Games. I started it in the end of June, and yeah, it really follows a track with me learning how to care for landscapes and have a passion for conservation as an extension of my time spent in the landscapes themselves. So town of Alta ski area and Upper Little Common Canyon are kind of like the core of my like landscape passion connection, and a place that I've been paying attention to this project on since the summer, and really since for many years. I know this project has had taken many iterations and had a variety of different what it's looked like has taken a variety of different forms, and I do see of course why each iteration has had a lot of pushback, and I understand the town council's opposition to the current condominium proposal, and I would echo, I think, a lot of what Danny said as far as having a very close edge of both backcountry terrain and recreation, as well as wild space to Alta ski area is what makes Alta special, and having that conservation easement as part of the condominium project to our group is a very enticing proposal. So when kind of given this option of 10 parcels, which is the one big one, I can say pretty confidently that our membership and our organization supports the more consolidated footprint. That being said, I also understand how it kind of is outside of the scope of what town of Alta believes, and sees the character of the town being. I also agree with that perspective as far as the size and scale of this structure. So either way, I think the outcome of this, it sounds like there's going to be potential for a few different avenues. I hope that the Shawnee Estate will continue to engage with you all and try to find a more consistent vision for kind of a shared goal there. But I would love to continue to champion the idea of a conservation easement at the mouth of Grizzly Gulch for the sake of that buffer between our ski area and wild space that we all love and rely upon for a variety of reasons: dispersed recreation, watershed, wildlife and wildness, and wilderness qualities. And to kind of expand upon that ski resort expansion piece a little bit more, I think a bigger threat still than a condominium is the potential for interconnect from Little Common Canyon over to Park City. And if that parcel of land is developed, I see that as kind of the down the road bigger threat to the character of Alta. So I would like to keep that in the back of council's mind as they kind of consider options. So thank you. I'll probably come back again if I reintroduce myself. Maybe I was kind of told that was the style, but wanted to make the Sabre Canyon's assurance.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Mark, you want to say something?
I would concur with Mr. Budge that this body needs a coalition of the willing. Having been a very long time observer of the process, I would ask anybody to point to the last new construction improvement that the town planning commission, the staff, or the council was it ever in favor of. They have been unwilling to do anything. And I think that some people are familiar with that. Some of the newer members of the council may not be. But if you participated here for 20 or 25 years, you're probably, you know that it has been different. So the council needs to be willing to consider that real private property can be developed, and you have to have some idea of what could go on it. I would urge that the town council sign the plat such that it could be recorded regardless of whether the third-party agreements that are incidental to the larger picture, they should sign that plat and allow them to record it and then find out what the marketplace brings them. They should also, I would also urge you to approve the petition to rezone and let that go forward. And let's see what the community thinks about that, because there definitely appears to be some divide as to, what the community would like if they actually have to look at something. And I think that they should let them run on both of them to see what they can produce. I think that they have, since they started in the early aughts, they have gone above and beyond to provide both this body and the appointed acolytes at the planning commission meeting to provide them with information, exhibits, and just very straightforward. The only thing that concerns me is I do not think that the estate should in any way inhibit future ski resort expansion. The lift company should be the best lift service skiing in North America. Right now, they're probably close, but they could definitely have some better circumstances. Thank you.
Okay. Mike, do you want to say something? Sure. Thank you to the council for working through all of this and trying to do what's in the best interest of our community here. I just want to make sure our position is clear. As at this time, we would, we sent you a lot of letters that we request that this zone request not be approved. Because from our perspective, it's incomplete. It hasn't addressed some very key issues that are important to us in this area. I think to us as a community. Doesn't seem to make sense to move forward to change the rezoning when the issues of access in particular and some of the easements this area has on the property have not been resolved. Because if we don't get those resolved, then maybe the zoning that's there now is appropriate for whatever way it moves forward. So our request would be, let's get these issues, if they want to move forward. I think more time to work out these agreements, work out these situations, to come with a solution that works both for the estate and for the ski area and for our skiers and for our communities abroad. That we're willing to be engaged in that process and go forward, but I cannot be supportive of moving forward at this point in time. Thank you. Okay. Any other public comments on the proposal to rezone? Oh, Ms. Burke.
Council Margaret first. I just wanted to address a single issue, and that is the access. I know that the Forest Service issued a FONSI about the access for the finding of no significant impact on the proposal to build the garage on the estate's parcel for them to be able to have vehicular access, plowing half of the dirt road that's there so vehicles can drive there, and putting every other piece of mechanism, access, ingress, egress on the snow road so that we have skiers coming and going, we have over snow vehicles coming and going in a single lane, and then we have snow plows and snow cats and snowmobiles all having to navigate in a narrowed space where there's trees, and it's this incredible safety issue. And this is something that I think has not really been addressed by the proposal that is there for the 10-home subdivision. And I believe that there would be a requirement for a building permit to be issued by the town, and that has not been done either. So I question whether the Forest Service has actually permitted this proposal, which is, I think, the language that I saw in there, but I may be absolutely wrong in how I'm characterizing, but that's a primary concern for me about access with the 10 homes and access for the condominium proposal as well as a concern, and I didn't see anything specifically in there other than a proposal for potentially 2 roads coming in or off, either the Cat Shop Road or coming off the Summer Road. It's a steep bank there, so there's a lot of issues that I don't feel that have really been addressed well to either grant the petition to rezone or to sign the plat as somebody else's job.
Okay,
Mayor, we have someone online when you're ready.
oh, we do have an online,
If nobody else from the.
anybody else in the room, want to speak to this? Okay, someone online,
You should
Mark
try.
Levin. Go ahead, Mark Levin.
He can't, he's muted.
Oh,
See how his.
You're muted, Mark. She already prompted him.
okay.
Oh, okay, hold on. Can you hear and see me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, well, I'm not sure why the camera's not working. Anyway, well, listen, I own the house at 9871 Peruvian Estates. I guess I'd like to make a comment that I think that the biggest issue I see with the condominium proposal is it's really too small. I think if you're gonna build something, you should build it bigger. Alta's, one of its problems is it doesn't have enough bed base. And I think you also should encourage the applicant and any other future development to look at mixed use where you have some commercial tied in with multifamily residential. And I think that any new development ought to be tied in with some enhanced entitlement if the developers are willing to put in employee housing, which is for anybody that's an employee of the ski area or the town or any business in the town. And that's the same approach that, you know, places like Aspen and Breckenridge and, you know, all these other ski towns with a very limited amount of developable real estate and a very small amount of employee housing have done. One of the things to note is that if you have a bigger bed base, then you have less people, particularly tourists, who are not very good at winter driving, living while they're on their vacation. They're staying at the base area rather than trying to drive up and down Little Cottonwood Canyon. So there's some safety benefits. Looking ahead in the long term, almost everything at Alta, other than you know, the other new condo, has to be, or hotel needs to be redeveloped. Everything else is aging and obsolete. So it's time to really think about this issue in a global way. Probably that means putting in a new zoning category called planned development, where somebody can come in and make a proposal that, you know, could be kind of wide open and then have that negotiated and reviewed. So those are my comments, but between the two alternatives, focusing on what's on the table right now, I think that the condo as proposed is less impact, obviously environmentally, than the separate multifamily houses. So it's really your choice as to what you want. I think the public interest, as I've heard it, is probably better served by the condo proposal if those are your only two alternatives. I think it's unfortunate that you don't have an alternative for a larger development with some mixed use attributes and a lot more employee housing as part of it. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments on the proposed zone change? Okay, with that, we'll accept public comments regarding the adoption of the 2006 Utah Wildland Urban Interface called WUI Code, designation of a WUI boundary and amendments to titles 8 and 9 to adopt the WUI Code and allow defensible space.
And Mayor, I don't know if you wanna, on the agenda, we said to limit comments to 3 minutes, so I don't know if we wanna adhere to that moving forward.
All right. Hearing none. I'll move to item 4, which is public comment regarding the proposed amendment to the town of Alpha Code, including section 10-1-8 amendments and section 10-1-9, hearing and publication of notice before amendment. You wanna give one sentence on this? I mean, this is the idea that you have to publish it in the newspaper, but there is no newspaper.
Yeah, sure, I mean, I'm prepared to do that in the meeting, but yeah, it's basically, there are some obsolete provisions in our land use. The local requirements in town of Elgin, those to amend these regulations, we wanna streamline the process by removing those obsolete provisions.
Got it. Okay. Any public comments on that? Hearing none, I'll accept public comment regarding the proposed FY 25 budget amendments that Jen outlined earlier. Hearing no comments on that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearings.
So moved.
All right, and okay, John moved, at least second. All right, with no objection, all in favor? Aye. All right, and we will move straight on to the town council meeting. We're 3 minutes late on that. And I'm calling to order the November 11th, 2025 meeting of the Alpha Town Council, and we will start that with public input. What do you know?
Hello again. I had 2 comments. One was related to the flat fee about the late fee. And it was a proposal to change it from a percentage to a dollar amount. I didn't see in there, and my reading, I didn't see in there a time period. If it was $50, period, whether you're a month late, 2 months late, a year and a half late, whatever. So it may be there. My second comment was related to the WUI, and I did not read the whole WUI code yet, so again, it may be there, but the 30-foot defensible, 30-foot radius defensible space, we've got existing structures, and I know that generally the ordinances that we're talking about amending are for new construction, but we also have homeowner requirements about understanding and mitigating, creating a defensible space, hardening services, and a triage assessment, and whether the FFSL folks are gonna be UFA certified people that can come identify our spaces, and how long we would have as homeowners to do that. And what the fee is, as I understand, is based upon square footage, and I don't know if that fee is regardless of whether or not we have defensible space. And that may be totally out of this council's control and may be part of the state mandated code. But I'd like, if we can, to get some of that identified, not necessarily in this council meeting, if it is a state requirement, but at some point, so that we, property owners, homeowners, know what's required of us come 26, 27, and going forward.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Oh, Mark.
Two different things, Mark, 2 different things. I did breeze through the revised fee schedule. I would just note that the certifications for certified public copies in grammar requests was unclear whether the $2 a page was per document, per page. That's come up before. I'm not opposed to the fee, but you wouldn't want to have it by the page because they're short and long documents. You just want to be certifying that it is in fact a public record. The other one regards to fees was, I noticed for the fees for private permits for where they're having parties or need a liquor permit, and they said that they needed law enforcement, it was only gonna be $45. That should be triple or double, and the officer should get it, we need more, and so if they're working parties up here, there's gotta be a big payday. In another matter, in last July, there was a discussion, and Mr. Byrne made some comments regards the legislature's intent, or his view that the legislature's intent was to not have any unincorporated municipalities left in Salt Lake County, and so it was gonna go to wall cities, and he noted that, this community might have to consider what their relationship is with Snowbird, such that we don't wind up with neighbors that maybe not don't have as much in common with us as our present neighbors. And then in listening in the last few months, discussion regards getting, personnel to, run the water system, run the sewer system. I would note that service area number 3 has in fact run the water and the sewer in this town since its inception. With Mr. Hansen's departure and Mr. McIntosh is still providing some services. I would note that service area number 3 and the town of Alto's source protection zones are virtually identical. And rather than duplicate these services a quarter mile apart, it might make sense to annex the town into service area number 3 such that we could get competent sewer and water providers that have historically been here, have all the records, and it would eliminate needless duplication. And what Snowbird would need is we have a marshal's office, and whether by agreement or potentially annexation, this community could provide a cohesive law enforcement presence that again has been here since Snowbird's inception as well. And thank you.
Great. Any other public comments? In that case, we will move to the our citizen input, rather. Discussion and possible action to approve the Cross Estates proposal to rezone a portion of Patsy Marley ski area, Patsy Marley Hill property, and amend the 2014 development agreement. Want to say something? Let's see, Dan, you weren't really tuned in on when the discussion was occurring earlier. Do you want to say anything about this?
No, other than I hear more voices for some, I think, counter direction from our previous meeting. And I'm trying to digest some of that, I think, still.
Okay. John, you want to say anything more?
Just commenting on Dan's comment, I think to the extent we've heard some I don't know if this contrary opinion, but we've heard more from the backcountry community today than maybe we have during the process. I think that to me, and there've been a number of these moments throughout this process that speak to probably sooner rather than later, we need to do a general plan update. And that's really where a lot of these issues should be getting sussed out. And with all due respect to the WBA people, a lot of the issues they're raising there, and Mark Levin just raised as well, are really issues that we should be tackling in the forum of doing a general plan update.
I mean, I was gonna add about, you know, past councils and past town, you know, whether it's planning commission have never been in favor of condo development in the base facility zone. And that is something that we need to talk about, and that could possibly be a general plan update discussion. We do have condos in town that are, you know, on the bypass road, but we've always had a base facility zone, no condos. The Schron's estate, while currently not in what I would consider the base facility zone, is on the edge of the base facility zone, and by asking for condos, you know, we need to have the condo discussion in the whole town on the base facility zone. And so that's what's also very hard about this for me, is that I feel like we could get there if we had a little bit more time on this. I do think there's different types of support for condos than there used to be. But it is really hard to, you know, put condos right at the edge of the base facility zone and tell all these, we've had probably 3 or 4 people in the last couple of years ask for condo development in the base facility zone. So it's not something that we can just, you know, do right at the edge and not do for the rest of the town. And also I think what's hard too is the Schron's estate themselves compared their height of their building to the main road that's in the base facility zone. So it's almost like, if we're gonna extend that up there, we also need to talk about the condos in the base facility zone. So it's a very complex issue, and I wish we had more time to talk about it. But I think a general plan update is where that will be hashed out. But I think we're gonna keep getting this question.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think your comments really dovetail well with the discussion that went on at the planning commission, the last couple of their meetings too. They seem ready to tackle a general plan update. And it was really Jeff's monologue on the condo issue and the potential to really negatively impact the community, that was really moving to me. I thought that was just great. And it's probably time we turn and make this the focal point of maybe next year, if not next year, the year after. Something would take a while, but there are a number of issues that could be handled through this, and we just would be in a better place going forward.
Yeah, and I think part of when everybody comes to us about Alpha has a very unique feeling, a very unique landscape, it's because we don't have condo development in town, in our downtown corridor, like other mountain communities do. And that has been something that we've held firm to, but I think the discussion has to happen at some point. But like you said, Jeff had very good comments in the planning commission that allowing something like that would greatly change the feel of town and how we connect to other mountain communities, and it does have to be considered.
Is there anything else?
I also appreciate the backcountry comments, and I did not think that each of those dwellings was capable of being 9,000 square feet.
8,500.
8,500 each, yeah, it's interesting. Cause I think when you do put it that way, I can see how that seems overwhelming. But the size of that single building is just unbelievable to me. So you know, I do really appreciate your coming up here in the comments. It is funny, you know, will you ski between those buildings, or will they say, you know, it's private property, you can't come here? You know, what is gonna happen? So
Okay, we are faced with a decision to whether we support A or B, option A or B. And that option is option A is to make the zoning change, option B is not make the zoning change. I would prefer option C. However, option C is not what we're permitted to vote on. And were there an option C, I think I could readily support it. I mean, I agree with a lot of the comments that have been made here. But at this point, we really only have, as I understand it, the opportunity to either vote up or down on the rezone. Okay. So. I'd like to call a question.
Is this a roll call?
It will be, but you have to
You
make
need a
the
motion.
motion.
Second.
Nice, Elise and Ruth, that's good. Was gonna go
I
spontaneously.
move that we vote whether to approve the Strong Estate proposal to rezone a portion of the Patsy Marley Hill property and amend the 2014 development agreement.
So you should probably wanna make a motion either yay or.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm following you.
The way I took it was you were saying that you're voting.
I'm
Yeah,
making,
right,
well, I
because
said, I'm just reading how you have it here in the agenda, but yeah, I mean. So I'm making a motion that we do not approve the Sharon's Estates proposal to rezone a portion of the Patsy Marley Hill property and amend the 2014 development agreement.
I second that, or we have to do a roll call too.
Alright. So,
Councilmember Ansel.
Well,
I'm just making sure that I understand the question.
yeah,
I support not rezoning.
Correct. The way the motion was it was a motion
Just making
to
sure.
not, I'm just gonna repeat it for everybody's sake, to not approve the Sharon's Estates proposal to rezone. So if you want to vote to not approve it, you're saying yes.
Yes, they cannot build that big building.
that's a weird way to put it. Why aren't we voting on whether to approve the motion? Wouldn't that be more normal?
It's the opposite.
you wanna withdraw your motion and we'll start over with.
That's appropriate,
because otherwise
you're just gonna have, it's not gonna pass,
It's-
and then you're gonna have the same motion.
Yeah.
I have reason I
Right,
did that.
ambiguity. I'm sorry.
That's
go
why I
ahead.
reiterated it.
Okay, so. Would you like to withdraw your motion and we start over?
No.
Can't do that?
I know I don't want to, I wanna, we're voting on how I did. the
Okay,
motion.
got it.
Yes.
Alright. So you voted yes,
Correct.
and she's roll calling.
Councilmember Byrne.
Burger burn.
Byrne.
Yeah, I'm voting against approving the upzone. So that's for
Yes.
this motion?
Yes. You're voting to support not approving it.
Okay, I'm voting I'm voting to not approve it.
Correct.
Voting
That's the way I
yes to
took it.
not approve the zoning.
Yes, that's how it was worded.
Okay,
Councilmember Morgan. Councilmember Schilling
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes,
Motion passes.
motion passes.
so it didn't matter in the end.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
All right, that. Long discussion. Mike, you're up.
I want to start about, right on, young member of the school.
I know you.
Wait. Start just by expressing my appreciation to the town for the collaboration of the past this summer. My apologies for the challenges we've had in the town as well, the construction. The projects, we just had our busiest year here at Alton. Doing that, and in conjunction with that, there's been a lot of collaboration projects we worked together with on the town. We got the water line, and we got the full sewer thing we've been working on with the town. And you know, some kind of cool piece of information that's come out of this is Big League, who's the main contractor for the Albion Day Lodge, has come to us and asked us if there was something that they could do in the town of Alton within the ski area to kind of to give back to skiing. And I suggested that they consider building the town of Alta a restroom at a drive.
Yay!
Yeah, they have, and then so they said, well, they might be interested in that, so we ran that flag at the Forest Service pole, and the Forest Service has give an initial indication that they would be supportive of that. And so we're trying to link the two parties up and, you know, looking at potentially having a restroom built. Trail, probably up by the Grizzly Trailhead, maybe by the town water supply. Open to discussion with the town, as if there's a better location, we'd like that to be explored, but we're kind of getting to the point that we need to start to explore a location and get those parties talking.
So they wanna pay for it and build it,
Correct.
all of it?
Correct.
Wow, and a garbage disposal right beside it.
So, we can,
Wow.
that technically, we'll continue to talk a little bit more with the two parties. But we probably would like to have some sort of a work session or something with the town to talk about potential locations. Where that would be, and then we need to also talk about, you know, once it is built. You know, who maintains it going forward and all those type of things, so.
Sure would be great if it could be built where it could be on the sewer,
Yeah, sure would,
Correct,
right?
sure would.
yeah. So anyway, that's just some news to put on, and you guys can, staff, whoever can reach out to us to set up a time to try to take the next step.
Hey, Chris already know about this.
No.
I think bomb just got dropped in our.
This is
but,
awesome.
You don't, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, maybe. It'll be expensive. That'd be expensive.
Yes.
Much toilets on the sewer all the way down the sewer line.
But anyway, we'll see what. We'll see if they continue to move forward, but the initial indications are they're interested to move forward and do that. They really, Bigby, I guess, does some sort of projects here and there to give back to communities and just, we gave them several ideas and but we suggested it's gonna be in the better one, and they seem to be supportive of that idea. Thank you to Molly working with us on the north side parking issues and parking things, and we're looking forward to moving forward with Interstate for this next year on that, and thank you, Mike Moore, for heading up the road committee meeting, and you had the first big road committee meeting, the biggest one of the year, and it's a long meeting. Wasn't my fault. But you know, we've got this great working relationship here in the canyon that tries to minimize the impacts of traffic and avalanche mitigation, so really appreciate it, everyone that is involved with that. We are disappointed with UTA, you know, we've made several requests of UTA to make some adjustments to service, as well as some requests for some more money to help us fund some additional shuttles. The answer continues to be no. We continue to ask in that regard. But our projects for the summer, Sugarloaf Lift is, you know, was realigned, it's been approved, it's ready to go. Supreme Lift was upgraded, let's go. Alpha is to go. High Traverse project, where we extend the High Traverse so it can retain snow and get people out to terrain when we have lower snowpack, is that project was completed. We've got 4 new FESM towers in Devil's Castle for avalanche mitigation, which will help us to do that mitigation more effectively and safer out there. Got a new backup generator up and running, just got approved and fired up. We've upgraded our pumping capacity from 1,200 gallons a minute to 2,400 gallons a minute at our base area. Which, you know, if it gets cold this weekend, we can turn it on, maybe, and try it all. The intent is to be able to make more snow. You know, not when we have those privileges in it, so that's a good thing. We're hoping it's there. The cross to utility project, again, it's buried, it's done. And been tested, we filled our underground reservoir with water and emptied it once to see that it worked, it did. And that's all good. And in our equipment storage building, you know, that it's well, the Albany Day Lodge expansion is being just kind of closed in for the winter now. We got to the point that as far as we were gonna get this summer. We are going to have some construction continuing this winter in the Day Lodge, but we're restricting it to Monday through Thursday and non-power days. So, just the day, because that's the time we need the parking. And so, we'll have some trades that will be working in there. The equipment storage building on the other side of the lot, we'll get 90% complete probably by the end of December. The contractors will come use that as their home base to work out of as they work out of the other building for the winter. We'll maybe put a few things in there, but not much. They poured the roof just yesterday or 2 days ago. today we're laying asphalt in Albion, all of the Albion lots. All the sort of things being, all the asphalt's been put down. You should be taking fence and all the construction steps out of there. With the intent that, you know, by the end of this weekend, we're pretty close to having our parking lot back and ready for the ski season. Which Mother Nature hasn't quite figured out yet. We targeted the 21st, well, the storm that's at one time looked like a nice juicy storm's down to about an inch of snow now in the forecast. There is another one on the horizon for Tuesday, but we are seeing the colder temps move in. So that we can probably fire up the snowmaking. We will, as of right now, we haven't officially moved our opening date off of November 21st, but I would tell you it's highly unlikely at this point in time. We're gonna meet again on Tuesday after the weekends and kind of try to come up with a forecast of when we think will be our next target opening date. On the positive front, sales of our season pass products for the year, units are still up 2%. The Icon product is up only down 1%, down much more than that. They've bounced back. There seems to be a lot of people were holding up buying their past products. So I got to this point in time in the year, and a little bit of snow and getting close to the season is it's kind of moving up. Mountain bike product for us is so we're looking at maybe a little soft opening, but a strong rest of the season. We're working with UDOT on having a sticker day up here in the canyon where we would invite the Alta community to bring their vehicles by to get them inspected to receive a sticker. And so we're trying to get that pulled together. And I sent out a letter to the community about a month ago, encouraging as we bring all these employees on board. To educate and remind our employees about the skier responsibility code. And there's a couple of little videos about the skier responsibility code and riding another day. We're encouraging people to show their employees to encourage responsible skiing and reduce the fast reckless skiing that sometimes we see, particularly early season and when we're on primarily man-made snow. We've got a great ski experience here. Depending on what ranking you look at, we're currently in the top 10 of most of all of them. Number 3 and 4 in some of them. We do get our cons. One of the cons is our red snake traffic getting here. And another con is no snowboarding, but that's okay. Okay with that one. I mean, that is a con because we have plenty of people who want to come on skis. That's there. We have a great ski experience, and we really want to keep it that way. We do that by managing demand and putting ourselves in position as a company so that we can stay viable in the future. We're truly one of the few independent skiers of the country. There's not just a handful of left down the Rockies, and our goal is we don't want to get gobbled up. We want to keep Alta unique and keep Alta the special place that it has been. And so we appreciate the town working with us and trying to achieve that, and all of the Alta community. Because we're all in this together, and it's a great place to be. We all love being here. So thank you for what you do. Any questions you have about for the skier?
I have a question, and it may be for Mike and for you. So where it might be a UDOT question, but you probably know the answer. So the things that I noticed in the past year are that the moose are back, and I'm psyched. I saw the moose so many times, and I can only attribute that to, I think, the ending of the extreme Wiesen Tower construction ban. That's just my theory, because there was just too much helicopter traffic for them or whatever. So now the times I've seen the helicopter several times, there was I believe 2 separate instances in which citizens were plucked off of these towers. And I am wondering if we're doing anything as a community. I haven't seen any social media posts, or I haven't seen any "don't touch our stuff," or so that's kind of where that coming from. And Mike, I apologize if you're not the person to answer that question.
I'm probably not.
Okay.
I'm not aware of those instances. Are you aware of this?
Yeah,
It's probably one of the.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that.
Any other questions? Did you want me to speak to that?
I really want to know the answer, because it's been incredible, and I just want to say how great. I feel like the construction went this year. I thought you did an incredible job as a community member to addressing the concerns from the cabin owners, and then it was just a very respectful relationship with the cross-toe being closed. And there was a lot of construction, but I think it went incredibly well as somebody who lives here full-time, and
Thank you.
much better than in the past, Mike.
It was, well, it was really complicated, but it changed a lot, because, you know, the closures kept changing and adjusting as the projects moved on, and so. The consistency was a little troubling for people that, you know, one day it's okay, the next day it's not. I've read through all of that.
Yes.
And I don't anticipate us having this busy of a season as we've had this year for quite a while.
Yeah.
So,
But, you know, we do on our towers that are in places that public can get to them, we do like in the campground, we do put. Like, there's a, you can cover the ladders and lock it so they can't climb it. And that may be where we have to go if that becomes an ongoing problem throughout the campaign, but I'll let you try to see whether we have to know it.
which kind of takes us to the department reports, so.
Sorry.
Well, so normally I try to keep my disparaging comments, reserved for the fire service. Thanks. I will tell you that, what we're seeing, we have a map here, which is not in the town limits. Is an alarming increase in people that are ill prepared for the terrain conditions someday. And a lot of times they are responding to social media challenges. I'll go up here, take a picture, be cool. You win. And they find themselves in trouble, so. When that happens, and a search and rescue response is initiated. That's always done, through the Salt Lake County Sheriff's jurisdiction. And so their team leaders will make an assessment whether or not, it's best done by a ground team or by using air resources. On the last two, I can tell you that there was enough slick rock up there. That they thought using a helicopter hoist was the only way to safely accomplish the rest.
And they went back and forth like many times.
Yeah, a lot of times they have to drop an observer or a search and rescue team member to get the party to be rescued into their harness and all that, so. It is said to take consideration, but both of those, it's brought aircraft in.
I talked to a couple of people who were hiking doing the southeast ridge, and I don't think they realized how much of a scramble. And how there's a couple of really sketchy moves, and so I think that, yeah, it's just, I think people don't realize how hard of that route is, and then they start at 5, and then they get stuck up there in the dark, or they start too late.
T-shirts with no water.
So the southeast ridge has been very popular this fall.
Yeah.
For some reason, and nobody realizes how techy it is.
And their headlamps up there almost every night.
The bash out that Chalkstone.
So not proud of our town to put a warning sign up.
Don't go away.
Oh, wait a
Would you like to make me to the point where your stage is just gonna go on a full attack?
Would you like to make an introduction?
I would, so let me introduce everybody to Virgil Sickles. Our newest full-time deputy marshal. Virgil's gonna be working the Wednesday and Saturday 24-hour shifts. We put a lot of work into bringing him on board from Juab County. And I can tell you that their sheriff down there was pretty unhappy to have us steal his talent. Do you want to introduce yourself, say anything about where you're from? Or?
Well, I grew up in Southern Utah. I kind of have a little bit of a Southern drawl accent, is what we call it. I grew up in a small town, Escalante is where I graduated high school from. Well, small town community that I'm used to. I've been in law enforcement over 10 years. So I did Salina City, which is a little small town in Cedar County. Juab County was my last job, was there over about 7 years. And that was really rural, like Alta, so it's right on my alley.
Well, we're really excited for this move, and we have one more new face to introduce you to, probably a later date, and that's Stephen Bennett, who is coming to us from career in Salt Lake City Police, where he oversaw the airport operation. And that's gonna hopefully help us as we're going in a little shorthanded. We've got a deputy out on medical leave, and we've got another that we can't use until the first of the year because of Utah retirement system rules. So
Good. Welcome
It's
aboard.
a little colder up here than.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
the elevation's not far off, but yeah, I'm not gonna be used to the cold temps. Be all right.
Okay, any other questions from the regarding the department reports?
I just
Yeah.
wanted to offer.
An offer?
I just wanted to add to my staff report that I put in the council packet. That the town of Alta and Alta Community Enrichment are partnering in a clothing and food drive to support Volunteers of America is the name of the company. So we are gonna have drop-off locations from November 15th until December 15th, both downstairs in the post office and at Our Lady of the Snows. So please do look at ACE, and I think the town should be putting out some materials here soon. We hope that people can follow kind of the instructions on what is it being accepted. They kind of have specific requirements, so please just take a look at that before you decide to donate, to make sure it's within their criteria.
Great.
What was the cause again?
Volunteers of America, and they work with the Utah Food Bank and other entities and stuff, so they're just the main host that we're working through.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions regarding the staff reports, department reports? In that case, let's turn to approval of September 2025 town council minutes. The October 8th town council meeting minutes, and the November staff and finance reports. So someone next, yes, did you want to say something?
I would like to just remind the council that the September 10th minutes, we had some discussion last council meeting on some clarifications and some verbiage. So I just wanted to say that that was redlined and sent to you all, and I think everybody was in agreement of those changes. And then I do have what I hope you'll accept as an edit to the October 8th meeting minutes. On page 3, I had a sentence that said, Cameron Platt reminded everyone that the audio recording of the meeting was the official record of the meeting, and any changes to the minutes wouldn't change the official record. This is in relationship to those September 10th minutes. That is actually incorrect statement. We looked that up in state code. So it is the meeting minutes are the official minutes, but if you go into litigation, they will go back and listen to the audio recording. So it's, it is also important. I would like to just strike that sentence. I don't think it's material. The minutes aren't verbatim of everything that happened, and so I think the minutes can be accepted just by striking that one sentence if when someone makes a motion, they wanna note that.
So moved.
I guess I'll make the motion with Jen's edits to the October 8th removal of a sentence. And I move that we approve the September 10th minutes and the town council. Let's see, November staff reports and finance reports.
And the October 8th.
And the October 8th with minutes with Jen's edit that she just mentioned.
I can second that, sure.
Sorry.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And Mayor, just to remind you, when we do have people on video, I need to hear when we do the votes, I need to.
You actually have
I
to hear them.
actually have to hear. each
Thumbs
of
up
them
is not enough.
separately. That is correct, but I believe I heard.
Aye.
That's it. Just a friendly. reminder.
Aye.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right,
Nice.
the mayor's report. Excuse me. The Central Wasatch Commission has appointed me as the co-chair for the coming year. The Salt Lake City Mayor, Erin Mendenhall, is chair. And I hope that working with her will provide an opportunity to promulgate Alto's values and interests into a wider community. So I look at this as an opportunity. The election results. Our neighbors at the Sandy and Cottonwood Heights elected mayors who are very much aligned with Alto's interests. Monica Zoltansky will continue as the Sandy mayor, undoubtedly wearing a red cowboy hat to all events. And Galen Bennion will no longer be our representative in the state legislature, but will be the mayor of Cottonwood Heights. So together, I think we have developed a strong coalition to protect our corner of the Wasatch Front. I don't know how Galen's seat in the legislature will be filled, but there will be a process to do that. The ruling on Monday night by a state judge specifies district boundaries for the 2016 congressional districts. And Lieutenant Governor said she would use those boundaries in next year's election. Alta is near the edge, but within the eastern boundary of District 1, which includes most of the Salt Lake City. It also includes our neighbor Solitude, but our neighbor Sandy is not. It's in the district that includes Salt Lake, it's St. George. Yeah. I have a link to a high resolution map if you want to figure out what district you're in. I mean, it goes street by street. And you can, if you question it, for instance, Molly is in District 1, but I don't know where everybody else lives, so. Our representative in the United States House may change. Stand by for further updates. For those who wondered about my sanity, I am not planning to run for this office.
Nice.
But I believe Piney's wife is running for the office.
Well, I'm not sure she is, Kathleen Reedy.
Yeah.
She's a current state senator, although not for our district, but certainly very much aligned with our interests. And I saw that she was considering, but I don't think there's been a formal process yet to put your hat in the ring.
I got a solicitation from her just yesterday. So I
Oh, did
don't
you?
think they're allowed to solicit money until they've actually officially running.
Okay, well, you're ahead of me on this, John. That's great.
She's a terrific
I am-
candidate, by the way.
Yeah, she really is aligned with our interests for sure.
Very much so.
I think I will defer the astronomy report till next time because we're running so late and.
We had such amazing photos last night, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Something about that.
That's a plus.
Roger, I was like, what's up?
I know that was. Everyone talked about the solar flare.
Yeah. Already written this, but we'll put on Northern Lights for next time.
And they're gonna be best tonight at
Yep.
sunset.
Ah.
Yeah, so we gotta move this along.
It's Sunday.
It was-
Yeah, early evening. It's gotta be clear.
Yeah, and you gotta be able.
Where is it
to see the
being
north.
from?
Anywhere you can see to the north.
So Kathleen Rubio, Utah State Senator, will run for a new Democrat leaning congressional district in 2026. 11 hours ago, it was posted in the Trib.
You guys are so far ahead of me. All right, presentation and discussion of HB 48 State of Utah Forestry Fire and State Land High Risk Property Assessment and Fee Program. Who's gonna speak to this? Jay?
We don't get to hear Jay enough, so.
Well, I appreciate mayor and council the opportunity to stand, especially going after Mike, because now we get the last word. And we'll get you virtual information on our hiring process. We're not doing that to Mike. This is Fire Marshal Chief Wade Watkins. he will be able to answer some of your questions related to House Bill 48 as well as the WUI ordinance. But just to say a couple things prior to that, I know we've been discussing some of these things over the last couple months. There's a lot of unanswered questions. The state held a meeting last week. Ollie attended the meeting. I watched online. Chief Watkins attended the meeting. And there are still a lot of unanswered questions. So to your question, stand by. And we will work with you all in your community as we're working through this with the state as they figure out how to move forward with this. It's a mandate by the legislature to adopt the ordinance and adopt your map. That's about all we have. There was good news out of the meeting that the fees associated with lots were lower than we had heard in the past. So those fees we heard in the meeting, $25 to $100. And that's significantly lower than we had heard rumored prior to that. So with that being said, I'll let Chief Watkins take over and just give you a little more background and then answer any questions that you all may have. Great.
Thank you for your time again. My name is Wade Watkins. I'm the fire marshal from the Fire Authority. House Bill 48, the direction from Chief Burchett, I just want you guys to know his intent is to support our communities through the adoption. Very challenging, but it's not only challenging for our municipalities, it's challenging for every municipality within the state of Utah. So one thing that's a little bit elusive is when they say the WUI code. So this is the 2006 Utah Wildland Urban Interface Code. Within this jurisdiction, you have already adopted and are working within the Fire Code of 2021. The next version is going to be 2024. When the state adopts that, we'll automatically adopt that. This is basically an addendum. So when we create a municipality map for the WUI area, that's where this code will apply. And the majority of this is already in the fire code book. That's kind of one of the things too. There are some specific portions in this related to defensible space and related to building code. As I drove up here and sized up many of the structures within this community, I would say many are in that non-combustible range anyway, as far as the aesthetics go within this community already. I don't think that it's necessarily going to impact a great deal. The one thing that I need to be sure to articulate the difference, again, if we define a map within the town of Alta, that's where this code is relevant. And I think that's where a lot of people are so confused when we talk about the assessments, which we have no control over. And I'll talk about that in just 1 second. So this is one conversation. The WUI code is within that defined map. Looking at the town of Alta, my recommendation would be a full adoption just because of the structure exposure scores. And that is another metric that the state of Utah is using. That has to deal with an ember load and ember casting, meaning if large vegetation catches on fire and there is a wind aloft, you're going to see those ember casts go throughout this valley in this area here. You're going to see multiple fires. So that is the metric that they're using to say, hey, you fall into this category, and this is where we start considering adoptions. So there's one conversation. The other conversation, and this happened in the public meeting that I was able to understand just because I've been working with it. Many were maybe more confused after the meeting. In 2026, January of 2026, the high risk map will come out. And that's something that's been assessed basically from the satellite view, capturing your SES scores, your structure exposure scores in current snapshot. And I think it's 2024 data that they're working off of that. That is where they will be assessing those fees off of the high areas. And I believe, I've seen the draft rules where they articulate in there specifically if you have multiple 7s within an area, you can bump into that area. I didn't look closely at the map they shared in the public meeting to see if I could discern like where the hot spots would be in the Wasatch Front, and I could not do that. So again, emphasis, little to no control over that. If you do get assessed that fee, I live in the hills of Harriman. I anticipate a fee coming my way living in that area in building a house on the Machine Gun Burn Scar. I always tease about that. Like
I did build my house there. I knew what I was doing when I did it. So that is another conversation related to those fees. And from what I understand, the flat fee will be coming out in 26, 27, and then those home assessments can happen in 28. From how I understand everything that's been communicated. Those assessments can come from the forestry, fire, state lands, and or their designated professional. From what I understand, you would have to go through their program, their training, and get qualified. They did reference in the meeting that they could see a portion of the private sector supporting those assessments, so you could lower that rating on your house. Mitigation efforts would be fuel reduction related to your defensible space. This has this articulated, and this is, if you Google this, the 2006 Utah Wildland Urban Interface Code, you can get this in PDF version. And you can look through it in there and it'll specify exactly what you need to do for those defensible space areas. Less invasive than I initially anticipated as far as how to handle your tree canopy, how to handle your limbing up of your trees. Within this, I just read in the back of the room, 10 feet away from your house, if you have a tree, you have to limb it up and make it look appropriate, right? And the next canopy would have to be 10 feet over from that. I have many trees in my yard and I have some of the same concerns many of our property owners that fall into the higher areas have on how to manage that. So again, 2 conversations. The municipal map that once adopted, this is relevant within that, and that is the WUI code. How you also, one trend that I'm seeing within the Salt Lake Valley and within Utah, many of the municipalities are doing a conservative adoption. So they're not adopting the whole community, but this community is different, I would say, from my perspective. And then they're updating that. The legislative body in the community is the one that adopts and or adjusts that. So if you want to adjust it at a later date, you do have that ability as the legislative body being this municipality to work through that. Those requirements are in chapter 3 of the WUI code. So with all of that said, I hope it's not too confusing. It is state law as of March 3rd, 2025. And every municipality needs to adopt it unless there's a caveat there, unless your structure exposure scores are not high enough. Some of our communities are in the 1s and 2s and 3s. Think very flat, think very base level in the valley. Any community that interfaces with the Wasatch Front is gonna have to build that map. And then it's gonna have to adopt the Wildland Urban Interface Code. So that was a lot of words. I hope that clarified some things. I'm open for any questions that anybody may have.
I have a question about, we mostly have Forest Service land in the town of Alta. Is the Forest Service also looking into this WUI code, or is this just something that's gonna apply to private land?
So jurisdictional boundaries of the municipality, that was a question that was addressed in the public meeting. Again, your ember cast and ember load is coming from different property owners. We run into a lot of that in unincorporated Salt Lake County and other areas. That's not part of the code, or that's not part of House Bill 48, is addressing the affecting fuels that do affect the ember casting, which increases your SES scores, which increases your need to adopt that map.
Well, I know the Forest Service, for example, sometimes does take into consideration local jurisdiction or the state code. I wasn't sure.
Well, so the town is jurisdiction for the building code.
Yes.
Whether the project is on forest or on private land. So anyways, when we apply the building code and the fire code, we'd also apply the WUI code to a ski area project on forest or new home.
Okay, I was just very curious because it's very exciting here.
Any other questions or concerns or anything that I've missed?
Just along that lines, Chris, if you have a tree that's off your property, but within the ember cast zone or 10 feet, and it's on the Forest Service land, whose responsibility is it to remove the tree?
I can answer that from a code side, code interpretation, not your property, don't worry about it.
It's very direct within the code, within the fire code, and I love fire code because it's direct. It's one thing I love.
It's very black and white.
I do love that, there's many, it does put me to sleep, I'm not saying that, but I love the answers, and I just read in here, it's where your. Ability to adjust those fuels end is at that property line.
Right on.
The fire code.
And I would just offer that the forest. It's been a couple of years since I've talked to the forest about fuels work. Around residential areas in Alta, but they know. It's a topic up here, and there are pathways to do fuels work on forest land or, around property. Of course, in Alta, much of the forest land in Alta is in this area special use permit, so that's certainly a layer. But there are ways to do that work, especially if you've got a letter from the fire marshal, where fire marshals designate about defensible space.
Yeah, but, well, now I'm hearing two different things, because a minute ago it was, if it's not on your property, then it's not your problem.
Well, that's the International Fire Code answer. Which is again, where we run into it, let's say I look at my next door neighbor's property. And I see that they have an unruly yard and they're not meeting the standards for defensible space. Even if that is adjacent to your property, it's very clear within the fire code that is not to be addressed from your perspective.
So yeah, sorry if that was confusing, John. I hope this doesn't confuse it further. No one's gonna make you take down a tree on national forest. But if someone tells you that you should, there are pathways to getting that done.
If you want to.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to, there's some safe harbor there, because it's not your tree. Yeah, no, along the creek, actually, the biggest governmental entity is Salt Lake County Water, because they have a super wide easement all the way down the creek. And so a lot of the communities that are along the creek, Provita Estates, my community, down into Sugar Plum Townhomes and the rest, it's a lot of the trees are actually in the Salt Lake County water easement. So, and they're not on your property. It's an easement they have from the Forest Service. So it's on Forest Service land within the Salt Lake County water district, who have the control of the creek. So good luck getting that tree removed. But maybe you're just getting maybe you're just getting a hall pass in that situation. I mean, I think the reality is that most people, at least that have homes and really are residents here, I think most people, if they have a tree that scares them or has bothered them, they've already removed it. You know what I mean? It's not like the tree just suddenly was placed there, and people are aware of what's going on around their property. So I'm going to say I don't think there's going to be a ton of trees within 10 feet of anybody's home.
Yeah.
Along the creek anyway.
Okay, just a few more items and then I'll be close to done. Roles and responsibilities, and this is coming off the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire and State Lands back page, FAQ page. Utah Division of Forestry, Fire and State Lands creates, this is what they're responsible for, creates a high-risk WUI map. That'll be coming out January of 26. Sets triage standards, develops administrative rules, which are out for, you can view them, your liaison can share them with you, so you can get eyes on them. They have not been promulgated yet. Maintains a URAP portal and database, and that is what we can use as a tool to get in there and look at those structure exposure scores. Counties, to include Salt Lake County. Their responsibilities collecting fees based on statewide assessments of that high risk WUI map, which again is coming out January of 26. Adopt and enforce the WUI code, and then conduct mitigation and lot assessments if agreed with the state. So there needs to be an agreement on how those lot assessments happen. And again, the training will be coming from Utah Division of Forestry, Fire and State Lands. And then the cities adopted, forced the WUI code, which that needs to happen before January 1, 2026, and then define a map local WUI zones in coordination with counties. And then homeowners' responsibilities, understand and mitigate wildfire risk, create defensible space, harden homes against wildfire. And that's how those responsibilities go. So.
Does that take into consideration, one more dumb question from right field here. Does that take into consideration whether the structure is fully sprinkled?
So whether there's fire suppression systems, which are the sprinklers, that has no bearing on anything that I've read within the fire code or House Bill 48. It's a good question though.
Good answer. I mean, well, not the answer I wanted to hear, but a clear, concise.
You're not exempt. Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, I thinking about this in advance, one of my questions, the questions are, what do I need to do and what's it gonna cost? And I think you addressed the second one, and the costs sound like they're modest. And I presume those $100 to $25 to $100 are annual.
Everything that we've heard in the public meeting. Until I see it in print, I have a hard time believing anything. I have not seen it in print, those defined costs, and I would, as soon as those come out, my hope is that by January of 26, we see that those rates and where that will be. Again, as a reminder to the municipalities in the town of Alta, you cannot control that assessment, that is gonna be separate. And that's where, not here in Alta, but other municipalities get confused, especially after that public meeting. I was building a lot of questions like, well, what can we do to control those assessed fees? You have no control of that. And I'm not saying Alta would do this, but if you said we're not gonna adopt the WUI code, we're not gonna adopt a map, those fees would still come separate.
But isn't it the case that property owners can respond to, if not manage the fees, by responding to the assessments and taking actions to mitigate their?
That is a correct statement. So through their proactive engagement and making sure that they have the right defensible space, they can lessen that impact. So.
How does Chris, how do you see the new requirement to have a site plan to remove trees to comply with this? How do you see that working out? Honestly, from the cost point of view, Roger, the most expensive thing is going to be getting a survey for your house.
Yeah.
Well. Sorry, can you ask your question again? How does
the way I understand it, what we're passing today, we're gonna require the homeowner to submit to the town a site plan. Even though we're being told by the fire official to remove this tree, the town doesn't want to rely on that. The town wants us to demonstrate that it's on our property. So we're gonna do a survey. We're gonna cite the tree, submit a site plan. That's gonna be the most expensive cost.
Let's see, the provision you're talking about would come into play. You have to present a site plan to do new construction, right? Anyway, so if you're building a house or doing a significant remodel, you submit a site plan as part of the whole package, goes through the building code, which involves going through UFA to apply the fire code. And once we adopt the WUI code, UFA will apply the WUI code, and that may lead to UFA saying you have to cut down these trees to have defensible space. So you've already provided the site plan in that event.
Not for existing homeowners necessarily, right? I mean, the original owner maybe.
Prior to the current code, prior to adopting these amendments we're discussing today, prohibits removing trees unless you get approval from the mayor. So if I recall correctly, we added that site, and one of the changes we propose is to take that out of the mayor's scope of duties and give it to the building official who's in the business of reviewing site plans and, you know, interpreting building codes and all of that sort of a thing. So we provided the site plan requirement just to make the process of getting approval to remove trees more functional, because there was some question about, well, how are you supposed to tell the mayor about that, how are you supposed to apply essentially to do tree removal? So if there's some other way to do that, we can certainly discuss it. I mean, we really can talk about this more when we get to the adoption agenda item, but we tried to take the path of least resistance to adopting the WUI code and mitigating conflicts with the WUI code throughout the rest of town code, and that is just part of that attempt. So we try not to get into the tricky subject of, you know, vegetation management of ski town too much.
Yeah, I guess I'll say we're fixing something that's not broken though, when we require the site plan, you know, for 50 years. This removing a tree that you wanted to remove was handled by calling the town office, and either you sent a texted a picture, or the town manager came over and looked at it and said, oh yeah, sure, that's on your property, no problem. You know, plant the saplings when you're done. And you know, actually the town manager would execute that on behalf of the mayor, I would say, but it was handled informally and without a site plan. I think what we underestimate is that getting a survey today from which to draw a site plan, man, you can't get an engineering company to come up Canyon for less than $8,000 to $10,000. And you know, you can't submit a site plan and marking a tree unless you happen to already have a survey. Couldn't be done for less than $5,000. And I'm going to say 10,000 is going to be the general issue, because the surveyor doesn't want to come up and just do $2,000 or $3,000 worth of work. The surveyor says, listen, I'm only doing full surveys, so if you want me to come and do a full survey, great, it's going to be $12,000, $10,000. And so that's what seems extraordinarily burdensome on our homeowners. And so that's what I struggle with, you know, and I have a survey, so this isn't about me. You know, my neighborhood, we have a survey, but many, many homes in Alta don't have a survey. And don't have an engineer that can just come. And even if you have a survey, you still got to pay an engineer to come up, shoot the tree, figure out where it is, fit it into your survey, issue the plan. He doesn't want to put his stamp on it for $1,000. So that's my concern with this provision.
Yeah. Well, John, what are you suggesting in terms of our local legislation?
I think we should exempt trees to be removed pursuant to WUI compliance. I'm fine with the site plan approach when it's a healthy living tree and you just want to take it down because it's blocking your living room view. Yeah, man, let's make that harder to do. But this is a very onerous proposition, this WUI code. This is really onerous on our homeowners. And I think we should exempt from the site plan requirement trees removed pursuant to WUI.
I understand from our.
Well, do we want to let UFA, do we want to move on to discussion of the ordinance changes? Maybe.
Sure.
Any other questions for UFA about, I mean, what UFA is presenting on is the legislation that's, you know, leading us to do the code amendments we're about to do.
Which we're required to do.
And it's a complex piece of legislation, and we're required to adopt the WUI code. We're trying to reduce conflicts with the WUI code that exists throughout town code otherwise. And then there's this other program that the state is setting up to do property assessments and, you know, take other actions to kind of control the insurance, the players in the insurance market to some extent, to keep them at the table here. And so
that would all be fine, except we're piggybacking onto that a new requirement that you have to submit a site plan to remove the tree. And so that's what's problematic for me, is everything you just said, I'm totally down with. except that we're using this as an opportunity to layer on a burdensome requirement to the homeowner.
I have one quick question, should you have it?
You're
Sorry, if you might have said this, when is the state assessment thing, when is that happening?
2028. My understanding.
Okay, cause that, so I just,
a different understanding.
Okay.
I thought they would have been completed by 2028, and that they would.
oh, they can maybe start sooner than that.
Like the first 2 years were kind of a.
Fees and assessments, what is the fee 2026 to 26 to 27 flat fee based on square footage of structures for all properties? 2028 onward, fee based and triage assessments and square footage of structure size.
So so for
That
the,
is off the back page.
so for the insurance discussion about how the state's trying to do this, we got a 2-year gap essentially from when this kind of adoption's happening to 2026 to.
By the time they have even
Yeah.
the workforce to do the assessments. We're looking at that, I'm looking at that 27, 28 mark.
Okay.
When I'm starting to have that conversations, and there's a lot of things that I don't understand about that related to. Definitely a Utah Division of Forestry, Fire and State Lands employee could be doing it. Or they could contract, and I've heard of no conversations about fire officials in any capacity being contracted at this day, today.
No, that.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
I may get that phone call like, I don't.
I understand why it's in 2028, I think that, I mean, obviously staffing wise, but I guess my question is there a risk that insurance is going to go up for our homeowners because we have this 2-year gap?
The risk, and it was in the public meeting
Okay.
too, which was not a lot of content from my perspective. It's definitely, when that high risk map comes out, that is definitely a tool insurance companies can look at. And measure and see if they want to insure you or not. In the public meeting, I didn't get it clear. The intent of House Bill 48 is to support the insurability, at least that's how I read it, and that's what was communicated for homes. But there is that other side of it too.
Yeah.
Of this can be challenging too with insurance, with keeping that insurance, getting that insurance and all of the above.
So I know we're required to adopt this by 2026 of January, but there is a chance that some of our residents and homeowners need to understand, maybe even our business owners, that there is a chance that their insurance fluctuate in the next year, is that?
I can't even,
I
you know,
I'm just trying to.
from my perspective in the
Just trying to
public
say if
meeting,
it's gonna happen.
there was not a lot shared on the insurance side.
Okay.
I've heard that, I've certainly heard that question, I've heard concern that the town adopting the WUI code could cause insurance rates to go up. I am not an insurance expert, I don't own property in the wildland urban interface. Or you know, in an area that's known to be exposed, I have a box elder tree and a couple junipers on my property in Salt Lake City, and I can picture them going in flames, but it's not the same. And my property insurance doesn't reflect that as far as I can tell. So I don't know exactly what the effects could be, but my sense is that the insurers in the market up here, they know about the risk, and adopting the WUI code is not gonna change their.
No,
interest.
I don't think we have a choice in adopting it or not,
Yeah.
but
Well, yes.
what I'm saying is
So-
that because of the House bill passed.
Yeah.
It is putting more focus on this for our area,
Yeah.
I would say, and so whether the insurance companies, there's a chance that this might trigger something. I don't think us adopting it or not is gonna change it, it's happening,
So-
this map's coming.
So this is where some confusion, anybody feel free to correct me. The confusion comes too with some individuals looking at the adoption as being where the information sharing happens. The information sharing happens when that high risk map gets published. That's where the information sharing happens. The information that we have within that WUI adoption map is just centered around the building code within the wildland or urban interface fire code. So I think that's where, like, we have no control over that information being shared. It will be shared sometime in January of 26, and how that impacts insurance. You know, we'll see when that comes, so.
I
But it
just don't see
seems
why
like
it's-
it's not really gonna get implemented until 28 when the inspectors are trained up and they start doing inspections. So it seems like, yeah, we got to adopt it now, but there's actually gonna be a gap here of a couple of years before you're gonna start having your property inspected and getting notices from the fire official that, oh, hey, we want you to remove this tree. Is that correct?
And that's gonna be, those inspections, that's gonna be happening upon request to lessen your assessed fee. So I think that's important to understand too.
John, I'm concerned that we lost the train about site plans, and I think what you're suggesting is that vegetation removal or tree removal associated with compliance with the fire code here should not require a site plan. Isn't that what you had said?
That is, but I think that also we could say to ourselves, well, we're gonna adopt the code tonight. We've got a couple years before the inspections start happening. Let's deal with this site plan issue in a more thoughtful manner. And allow for public comment, among other things. You know, we've been sort of shelving anything to do with changes to the land use code. That's kind of what we've done the last 4 years, and I feel like this is one of those changes that should get shelved until there's a general plan review, and then this should be one of the items on that review. So we could go ahead and exempt it, or we could just strike this requirement that you get a site plan for this tree removal, which they've sort of tacked on to the end of what we're adopting. And just be silent on it and not require it, because no, we're not going to be required to have inspections for 2 more years. They're not going to be able to do the inspections. So let's think about what we want this to be in a more thoughtful manner. Because honestly, I think it's pretty burdensome. You know, you're turning a weekend chainsaw project into, you know, really a huge pain in the butt. Homeowner.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't change that approach. Okay, but in the immediate future, are we gonna adopt the ordinance 2025-04?
I think we
No,
should
can we-
strike this
can we
last
not-
sentence.
can we-
There's
can we
nothing in
not-
WUI, there's nothing in WUI that requires this site plan.
Yeah,
submittal.
okay.
And do we have given everything that we're talking about here, because I share your concerns, John, and I think everybody would agree. Do we need to restate this and put it through the town council in December, which is that, as I understand it, still puts us in compliance before 2025, or do we have to do it tonight?
What would the staff prefer to do?
I guess I'd like to just talk this out a little bit more, see if we can find a simple tweak to what's in there. I mean, I regret not, I mean, we were really just trying to make this thing functional, and also, I mean, you know, I wanted to make changes to the vegetation management ordinance for a long time. Mostly to create this defensible space provision, but you know, it's been the policy of the town for a long time, a matter of great importance to severely restrict tree removal. I'm not saying that's good or bad, it's just been the way it is. And so my sense was not to get into that, and I regret not appreciating that a site plan, yes, that is an engineering product that yes, like growing up in Concord, New Hampshire, my dad would not call an engineer to cut down the oak tree. Maybe we didn't like cutting down trees, so we wouldn't do that, but you know, so I didn't appreciate that. I guess I would say, if we're talking about the site plan requirements, I don't assume it would need to be an engineering product that it could be a drawing, it could be a Google Maps printout with the tree circled. What we need to do is have some way of communicating that can be documented. The important thing is that it's documented, because, well, I think the important thing is for it to be documented because you have to document administrative decisions, right? So I'd like to find some way to do that. If there's no simple tweak in the language available here tonight, then I suppose we could table it. I don't think that's a problem legally. We could, come back to you with something else.
So you're talking about like an application process in a way for people to, if they do want to cut a tree down. For whether it's for WUI or for, let's say, another reason they're gonna cut the tree down. In the past, it was always to get approval from the mayor. You're saying now, what you were trying to do with the site plan was to have a more of an official way for someone to submit. A document to staff for, like you said, to have a record.
And I can read the language, so I think the first part of the language is fine, us adopting the WUI, putting the entire town into the WUI. That part is earlier. I think the key part where Councilmember Byrne is talking about is F. And that is the requirements of this removal and replace, and this is, and F, it's F of the preservation or replacement for trees. And it adds in, the requirements of this removal and replacement section shall not apply to defensible space requirements of the WUI as adopted by the town. And then the planning commission added in, which is why it's in yellow, so long as a site plan indicating trees to be removed is submitted and approved by the building official. So what I think Chris was recommending is we could put informal site plan, or we could table that, we could just, you guys can amend this however you'd like. If you wanna deal with this later, but why not just get the WUI adopted?
Yeah, I think we should definitely work on, the WUI. I don't think punting it to December, we're gonna have to vote on it anyway.
Yeah.
Let's just delete that last clause that, wasn't a very robust conversation at the planning commission. There was no opportunity for public comment. If we could just remove that last clause, we could go ahead and pass the rest of it. And in terms of documentation, the documentation in the past has always been a letter as opposed to a site plan. And usually it was a letter written by John sent to the homeowner, so the homeowner could have it in his file. It'd be like a get out of jail free card. So, anyway, I think it'd be better just to delete that last clause that you read and pass the thing. And then if we want to come back and visit it, we can come back and visit it.
By doing that,
Go ahead.
by doing that, we feel like we're providing options still for the homeowner to comply with the spirit beyond just the legislation of WUI. I just feel like there's more moving parts to this than we can stay in a single deletion of a clause, but maybe that's just because I'm not physically there. It makes me nervous. I don't really get nervous often.
I can certainly
I'm
go ahead.
So I'm having a hard time with this whole thing. And so I guess one of the things that I'm a little bit confused about after you just read something, Polly. So in building my home, I remember that there were like these big deals, you couldn't move the trees. And so I don't like the idea that the homeowner can just sort of like randomly decide that they want the tree down so they can expand their whatever it is that's part of their house. So that's why I'm a little bit like, whoo, there's a lot of moving parts
Now
here.
I'm only objecting to it applied to these WUI designated trees, where the fire marshal comes in and says, you don't have a choice, you must remove this tree.
Okay.
It's gonna salt in the
So
wound that we're also gonna layer on this additional expense. And think about this for a second. The documentation purpose, we're gonna do the site plan, so a piece of paper can live in the basement of the town office depicting where a tree used to be.
One thing I'm not
10,000
clear
bucks,
on.
$10,000. I don't know.
Well,
One thing that you might just wanna clarify, because I don't know what the process is that when the WUI, the way that I read this provision without that secondary part, is that someone can come in, because it just says the requirements of the code don't apply if you're removing stuff pursuant to WUI, but that doesn't necessarily I don't know, does the fire marshal have to tell you, you take out these 5 trees? Or does someone, or can someone just say, hey, I'm supposed to remove stuff? And then they take it upon themselves to remove it for WUI, and I think that
It's
that
not a
was what.
license. Oh, it's not a license
So
to violate our code about removing trees. We're only talking about WUI designated trees that somebody else is making the homeowner take out.
And, you know, I will say, John, and like, this circumstance that's coming down the pipe, which is that. You know, the county or UFA or the state is gonna come up and do these property assessments on existing homes that are not about to and have no intention of doing a big project and going through the whole, you know, plan development process to create a site plan. They're gonna come in and they're gonna potentially tell homeowners that you're gonna pay a fee, and then one way you reduce it is to cut down that tree because it's, you know, compromising your defensible space. And then in order to get that approved or, you know, exempted from the town's requirements under 933 or 933F, yeah, you would need to do a site plan. So I'm sympathetic that we don't wanna, you know, if there are 20 houses out of whatever we have 80 in Alta that need to cut down some trees, we don't wanna, you know, pump $20,000 or $200,000 into the engineering market in Little Cotton. So yes, was never the intent, and I regret not having that.
I have a suggestion, based
So
on-
I'd like to just cut to the chase scene in movie parlance, because there's a lot, I'm hearing a lot of hypotheticals and I'm hearing a lot of moving parts and I'm getting things read to me. And I am not prepared to absorb all of that on the spot. I'm just not, because John, your concerns are valid. Chris, I understand that it sounds like in general, it's gonna be okay, but I think there's more to this than we are, at least for me. I'd like to do something next month.
You might be less confused if we had followed the agenda and let these guys conclude their piece, because ours is really a separate piece and we have proposed ordinance. If we wanna table it for a month, that's totally fine. I assure you that if we could isolate the rest of the HB 48 program from these very narrow provisions that we need to adopt before the end of 2025, it would feel pretty simple. So we wanna take another month to do that and maybe just, you know, let this be on its own in the agenda. We could do that. All the town really needs to do is adopt the WUI code, which is just something that's gonna get adopted just like any other building code, and then make a couple of minor tweaks to our tree removal requirements to create that defensible space exemption. So that's the only action the town needs to take, and the rest of it is just gonna kind of burble up as a result of the state rulemaking process, and it's gonna come into play over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And if you wanna.
Even your explanation took 60 seconds, so I'm like,
Yeah, I could vote for it if you remove that last clause, or we could punt it to next month, whatever you want to do.
Cause what you could do is just do it and take out the amendments to 933, or take out F, and then continue that.
Yeah.
So that you have that, and then we can tweak that language, so then at least you have.
So I just wanna clarify, cause we, like I said, we are like Chris pointed out, we're jumping around it in the agenda. The site plan that John is bringing up, is that part of number?
Do you wanna?
I'm just trying-
Move on to that point in the agenda and we can either decide to table it or not.
Well,
I think that's what
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to, I think, what I'm just trying to figure out is that I thought these weren't all bundled together. I thought that we were voting on the WUI and adopting WUI, and this other part was kind of a separate.
Yeah.
It's all in one word, so.
It's all in one
yeah,
ordinance.
We can introduce that if we.
Okay, so that's kind of where I'm getting a little confused, I guess. I don't need UFA for any more. Definitely moved on from that part, but so that's where I guess I'm at right now. I'm ready to adopt the WUI, if we need to table the part of the code that we are all struggling with. I do know that we have language in our existing code that talks about tree removal, so it's not like we're overriding that right now. You still have to technically come to the town before you can remove a tree. That's not going away by us adopting WUI, right? That's like, so we can adopt WUI and what we need to for the state requirements and table this other part until we are ready.
Yeah.
Because we still do have an existing, we do have existing code about tree removal that still is in effect until we decide to change it. So it's not like by adopting Wooly, we're giving everyone free reign to do whatever with their trees.
No.
And that's the part I should put it
We're actually
clarified.
making it more liberal. We're actually
Yes, so
liberalizing our true.
I'm proposing, I am making a motion to adopt the 2006 Utah Wireland Urban Interface Code. Designation of a buoy boundary. And this is the part that I need help with, is where is it that I'm decoupling the town, the site plan?
Maybe and continuing the portion related to 933 F. And I guess the one other thing we added, and maybe we just table both of them, is that we say a copy of the approved fire protection plan shall be submitted to the town for incorporation into the final documents. I don't know if we want to talk about that now, or just, if you want to just couple them all together, you would just say continue amendments to 933.
So
I don't
sorry.
think I understand all that. Honestly.
Sorry, let me repeat that. Okay, sorry, I'm and because I have the code right in front of me. I think your motion could be to adopt the ordinance. I don't know the ordinance off the top of my head. 04.
Yeah.
With the amendment of continuing or removing the section 933 and continuing that to December.
Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
You don't like that?
It just makes a lot of administrative.
I mean, I
to adopt it all as once.
Things that make me go, and,
What
no.
site plan fund? That is my question. Because I thought Chris had an excellent suggestion when he was just saying a site plan could be a printout of Google Earth or something like that. Like that makes this simple. If that's true.
I don't think we can define that well enough in this meeting. I think we're opening ourselves up to trouble for property owners by making this a general.
Yeah, I think that my preference would be to just strike the yellow highlighted sentence from section 933F. And I suppose we can also strike 933G from the code amendments that ordinance 2025-0 were effect.
It'd be helpful if Brooke put that on the screen.
You do that, that's
would help me.
not. But yeah, that's.
Sorry.
I don't think that, because I think that if you do what you're suggesting, you're opening the door in a way that I'm not hearing that the council wants to open the door.
It doesn't seem to me that if we delay everything to December, that it's gonna prolong the discussion in December. The discussion on December is only gonna be about this point. And it's gonna be written down ahead of time and people are gonna be able to read it. So it will be much shorter discussion. I think this real-time editing is problematic.
I do too.
And confusing.
Yeah.
So I just wanna, then I'd like, I guess, to move on from this meeting with direction or some way to know that we're gonna come back with a proposal that we're gonna be able to get through next month, so.
Can you, as a staff, if we do this, because it sounds like this is gonna be too complicated if we couple this right now and vote on this. Is there a way in the agenda for December to have an ordinance where we are adopting Wooly and the boundary and what needs to be changed into the code for that? And then have a separate agenda item addressing this? Cause what I'm worried about is we're gonna go round and round on this site thing and we're still not gonna get to adopting Wooly.
We're seeking some mechanism to communicate to the building official what the trees required for removal to satisfy the WUI code are, and for the WUI code, or to the code official to look at that communication and communicate back to the applicant or property owner. Is that what we need to come back with a?
But does that have to be done by the end of the year?
Well, it doesn't, but like.
Because I'm trying to answer your
We
question
need to
about
adopt
the way that you could assure that you get adoption next time is you do exactly what Lisa's suggesting. You decouple
Yes.
from the parts where we have to change it.
The problem is that we don't allow tree removal for defensible space.
Okay.
We don't, I mean, we have an extremely onerous and unsophisticated
I got it.
tree removal policy.
Isn't
And
also one of the problems that we don't yet know how the state or the fire official is going to communicate that X, Y, or Z tree has to be removed? And wouldn't we be better waiting for that to get propagated and to see how they're actually communicating and then figure out what it is we want from that? Like,
It
What's
does
required?
seem-
That'll drive our requirement rather than us trying to aspire to what we think it might be.
right.
Yeah.
I just don't wanna. I don't know, guys, I mean. I think this should be a simple matter and. You know, if in January, we just adopted the WE code and we don't make any changes to 933, then 933 is in conflict with the WE code defensible space requirements. Is it gonna cause any problems practically? Like, I doubt it, I just don't. Wanna get bogged down in this.
That's like we are right now.
Yeah.
I think we can unbog it by doing what Elise said. Decouple these two things. Let's do what we have to do with WUI, and we can do it before the end of the year. And I like what John's saying. We've got this 2-year grace period, and I can't tell, but I think our discussion got so boring, we drove the fire people out of the building. I don't see them there anymore, so.
We don't have a 2-year grace period. The 2-year grace period is a whole separate topic. Because the
Okay.
WE code's gonna apply regardless of this property assessment and fee program. It's totally different. So forget that, on the topic of adopting the WE code and reducing the conflicts in our vegetation management requirements. With the WE code, forget about the fee program and everything that the fire marshal just described as far as this whole thing. The state's doing, it's not irrelevant, but it's not that relevant. I want in January to have the WE code adopted and to have mitigated this conflict. I think we're really close. We just need to come up with a way to, not open up the floodgates to whatever it is we're worried about here.
Why don't you,
So,
if there's a way we could just uncouple them in the agenda for December, cause I am a little worried about that. And then I think for reporting for the town, I think, what the existing code says right now, and you maybe just tell. I know you've given this to us before, but I think telling us why that's in conflict with the WE code, this specific section, because like you said, we can't go into January with just leaving it there. If we're gonna adopt WE, we're gonna have to update this 933 section.
Yeah.
Right, at the same time, but I think what's hard right now is that understanding how our current town code is in conflict with WUI. And then I understand what you're proposing you suggested a site plan, but I think you didn't need for it to be as official of what John was saying. Just figuring out a way, like Jen said, is there a definition of site plan? Do we need to use another type of process for this? I think just trying to give us that, if we need to have a work session, that was my own. Entering busy December as everybody, if we punt this. And then everyone's gonna get bogged down again on this decision, we are gonna have to have work sessions in December. So I just, if we're gonna punt this the next month, just everybody realize that,
I think we can-
more work.
But aren't we just, Elise, aren't we just punting would we adopt the WUI and then we're compliant and we've got all of next year to dig into this thing in a less busy month?
But we
and
are,
can.
I don't think we won't be compliant is what Chris is trying to say, we'll be compliant in the fact that we adopted the
Damn it.
WUI code and we adopted the boundary map, but we're not
Yeah,
gonna
we
be
have to-
compliant with our own code and
we
the
have to
WUI code.
adopt an exception
Yes,
for dispensable space as required. Under the WUI code into this code section that's on the screen right now by January.
yeah, so I
So
think
we
we
have
can,
to do something.
We can decouple them on the agenda because I think like we are required by state to adopt this code, but we do need to fix our own code to match it. And I know that staff was trying to bundle them, but
Well, what I'm hearing from the council is you're just trying to reduce the burden on the homeowner. I think we can easily come up with some language that
Right.
will comply with.
I think so too.
It doesn't, I mean,
I
I
would
think
like
that
that.
is, that's the direction, right?
But I think on the
Do you
agenda.
need more than that, Chris?
But I think on the agenda,
That's
it's
simple.
Yeah, if you have them as two different things instead of coupling them, I think that'll be, I know why you guys coupled them, but I think it'll be easier for us to digest it a little bit better. Cause right now it's like
I mean,
we're trying to
honestly-
take new code, change our code and adopt a boundary map.
I think it's gonna make it actually more confusing for you if you decouple it, to be perfectly honest, because then you're gonna have code overlay multiple times. I actually think it's easier when you have it in one, but that's me personally.
Did you wanna say something, Mom?
I feel like maybe we've gone like in a big circle, but I think what Jen is suggesting is that right now we can make a simple language change and get it all taken care of tonight and not put anything to December. If we just say, as long as a plan indicating trees to be removed is submitted, or something to that effect.
Well, let's,
Maybe that's not.
Well, how is that, again, I get back to, they're gonna have to tell you to remove that tree in writing. Why wouldn't that be sufficient for the town's documentation?
I think that's part of the confusion, Councilmember Byrne, is that they don't have to tell you to remove it under the WUI. What the WUI says is you have to create defensible space. And so you have a lot of homeowners that will go and say, okay, this code is telling me to create this defensible space, so I'm gonna go out and make that defensible space. And did we trace those? So right here, so what, is that correct, or what's your understanding?
Sorry, it's very confusing.
No, I think so, and I don't think that, with these codes, I don't believe that we're gonna tell you you have to remove that tree. If you choose not to, you're going to pay the assessment fees, associated with being in that particular risk area. If you want to reduce those fees, then you can have more defensible space and you can follow those guidelines that are outlined. My caution to you all is you have to do this before January 1st. If you're not able
We
to have
understand that.
season in the next meeting and you don't do this, you will not have access to fire mitigation funds moving forward.
Okay.
That's what I was scared.
So if we adopt this, and then we all have a chance to review it and think about it more, can we unadopt what we did and then?
You don't need to unadopt the Louis ordinance or the map. You
Okay.
just need to figure out what you wanna do with your vegetation ordinance.
Okay, but if we respected what the town is asking us to do, you guys are asking us to do, you will give us more information to review, and then as a council, if we're like, oh God, why did we vote for that? We can reopen it and change it. Is that correct?
You can always change your code here.
Town code, we can always choose our own town code.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it seems like you all want us to adopt this, cause it, for a variety of reasons. So we can always change our mind next month.
Well, there's noticing requirements and things that you can't just do it on a whim, so.
No, it's not, I'm not whimming it, but
We could also go the other way. We could also go the other way. We could strike this clause that's highlighted in yellow, this, what is it, 12 words. Adopt it, and then sometime if we decide to put it back in, we can edit and put it back in.
That's a very efficient way.
Yeah, I'm trying to help Chris and Jen and the fire marshals. Hey, this is like, you guys want us to do this, and what I'm getting the vibe is, it's kind of weird that we're kind of like spinning in circles here, because you guys didn't expect this to be like a
We
big deal.
think about this for months and months.
We-
So
We have.
I was ready to,
Give you the benefit of the doubt, like you haven't.
I was ready to
Okay.
make a motion.
It's totally fine.
Okay.
I was ready to
We've
make a
bought,
motion,
we've
but I
bought buildings that were easier than this, frankly.
Yeah,
You know?
my concern is the homeowner. My concern is that this is unnecessarily burdensome of the homeowner right to require the site plan. And He's trying to comply with this ordinance and the least expensive part of it's gonna be the tree work. You know,
Chris,
that's
before
what
make a
I object
motion-
to.
Before I make a motion to strike the language in yellow, you seem like you don't wanna do that going into January, so I just.
Well, no, I want to amend 933 to create an exception for defensible space, along with the adoption of the Louis Code for January. So however we do that, we'll achieve the bare minimum outcome.
So I think where we're at right now, from what I'm hearing though, is that I can make a motion to adopt the Louis Code and the boundary. And our amendments striking yellow, because that's kind of where the council's at. Or we can wait till December. And you guys can come up with some edited sentence. And we could adopt it all at once there. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, what do you guys want to do? Because I can make a motion, but I don't want to put you guys in a position where you're not comfortable with a code that we're deleting out that you've worked on. That we also just wouldn't have for a month or two. And like you said, no one's probably gonna submit something in the next month or two, but they could. And we would be in conflict with WUI a little bit if we don't make an update to our own code. And that,
I'm happy with either approach, either
okay,
striking something. I mean, I can't quite picture how this. I would manage the new version without the yellow clause, but I'm not that worried about it, so we could go that way, we could go that direction, or we could come back with an alternative in December.
What about
We'll probably have a quorum.
Well, can I throw something out there? I think, Chris, even just hearing you again now, we're unsure of exactly how we want to word it right now. I mean, even right now, you're saying this is what may be comfortable if we do this, but it may not. The critical thing, as pointed out by our fire experts and authorities, is we are in compliance before January, so we don't lose out on access to funds and other government related programs. And I think you guys giving it just a little bit of a massage and coming in prepared and a read ahead so we all understand it would be great for December, and we can execute this thing in December. And that's just my preference, because seriously, we've talked, this is a lot of talking, and I don't think I've got a grasp on it, and it just makes me nervous.
Okay, so we got basically two alternative approaches here. One is Elise's, which is delete the yellow lines and adopt that.
that's not my approach, that's just what John and.
Okay.
And that is okay, that makes your life, I'm interested in making your lives easier. I have to trust that you researched this extensively and that you're not trying to pull anything on us. So I have to respect what you want us to do. So that's my.
Come back with another.
Yeah, I would say I am not, I wanna get this passed, cause I mean, there's always a chance we could not have a quorum in December. But at the same time, I don't wanna make a motion to something that's going to be vague or not fulfill a requirement that we need to have, like you said, you want us to meet, but we don't wanna be in conflict with the code.
I'd rather wait a month and come up with some alternative to the text in yellow that. And strike the yellow, and if you guys wanna just strike the yellow, move on, save us another public hearing and. I mean, whether we have
Can I just
another.
make one, can I just make a?
My
One comment.
thought was,
Oh,
oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead,
Chris,
Jim.
Chris, I thought, because my takeaway when you were discussing the yellow was you weren't quite sure when you were just stating it to us if striking the yellow was going to give you what you needed. So when I hear you say that, it says to me, we're not ready because you're not ready. And that was my takeaway of your last addressing of the yellow text.
I haven't contemplated the way this would work without that yellow text, I guess. I mean,
That's why I think
will
we
get
have to
myself
table
out.
it till December, because you can't give us a clarity. You're telling us if we strike the yellow text, it may not do what you need it to do. That's all I need to hear that tells me then we're not ready, because you can't define it for us. It's not your fault. It's just that it's not ready.
Fair.
Okay, well, look, let's.
Could I make one last comment?
Go ahead, John.
The thing for me is traditionally, for decades, most of this has been handled administratively, especially with respect to a one-off tree or a dead tree. And that wasn't particularly burdensome on the homeowner. That was functional and appropriate. But we're taking the adoption of this WUI code as an opportunity to greatly increase the burden on the homeowner in saying we wanted to do a site plan to submit it. I could tell you I wouldn't submit a site plan without having my lawyer look at it. So, you know, it just goes on and on. It feels like we're piling on because the opportunity is presenting itself. I think what would really be helpful is if we could develop some language where we said, you know, it would be the intention that the process be handled administratively, except in times when, for whatever reason, the staff feels that would be inappropriate, at which time a site plan will be required or something like that. You know what I mean? Where you're going to handle most of them administratively, but occasionally it'll be one that's too complex or it's not clear, or something along
When I hear
those
you
lines.
say this, John, when I hear you say administrative, this is an administrative process. This right here is administrative.
Well, we traditionally have handled them administratively and not required a site plan.
When you say administrative, what I hear you say is, over the course of a phone call or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
These are generalities.
Or
You
a
guys
site
were-
visit,
we're-
or
we're
the-
throwing out some hypothetical generalities, and that's not the way to put it in writing.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It just seems like this is a bad time to ratchet up the requirement. At the same time, the homeowner's just having to deal with this whole thing.
I'm gonna state that I would prefer to actually vote on this now because I'm actually concerned about pushing it to November, but I'm December, sorry. I also know that we're probably gonna have another public hearing, I believe, if we do make any changes again.
Yeah, before we close this agenda item, if we are gonna table it, I wanna ask, can we actually adopt 2025-05 or the next one without having previously
They're
adopted?
separate.
Yes, they were separate.
No, and how they build on each other, I just wanted to double check that.
Yeah.
To make sure that's okay, because then that does reduce the administrative burden for the next meeting and for accepting.
And Shen, you made a comment about we can't just get together on a whim, right?
No, it's just that there is a process when you're making ordinance there of notifications and things like that, so we just have to have.
And
preparation.
I'm going with this thing that there's 5 of us here. And if we don't have a quorum, then we can't pass this in December.
No,
Well,
I don't
we
think
can
the town
do.
council has, in my understanding, we're gonna have a quorum.
Yeah, and what we can do, if somehow,
A special meeting.
yeah,
You can do
exactly,
that.
we can
Okay.
have a special
Okay.
meeting.
Or do you-
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of the, I mean,
Okay.
I feel, okay, Chris
Okay.
obviously has. I wanna follow his lead on this, but
Okay.
it seems like he's okay with tabling this agenda item
Yes.
until next month.
Let's do it.
So.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Let's
Yeah.
go to next item.
Yeah, next item.
I feel like I have to, before Jay leaves the room, just point out how much the four cops are. We only have, we lose, which is the sound of our truck station.
I like to think about that fun.
Okay, so. 05,
You're getting sick.
are we deferring 05 too
No,
also?
we're doing, no.
Okay.
We're
We're just deferred, okay.
We are, my understanding is the official action is to table, right? That keeps
Yeah.
it
To
open.
continue, what I
Or-
would do is continue it to December meeting, which I don't know the date off the top of my head. And if you do that, you don't have to renotice it, because it was already noticed for this meeting. So you just continue it to the next meeting, and that's.
And we don't have to have another public hearing on it.
You can continue the public hearing. I actually think that you'll just have the public hearing.
We
It's
should.
easy.
Okay, all right,
It's cleaner.
all right.
So just continue 04 to December
Good.
10th.
10th.
Yeah.
And then that one is done till December. So you probably want a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion that we continue 2025-04 to the December 10th town council meeting.
A second.
Okay,
Aye.
aye, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
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 That's motion.
Yes.
And this moves on to,
I just needed to hear Dan. Did we hear him?
yeah, Dan
Yes,
said
yes, yes. I'm
Thank you,
hearing
thank you,
yes.
Sorry. Excellent.
Okay, that brings us to discussion of possible action to adopt 2025-05, amending section 10-1-8 amendments and section 10-1-9 hearing and publication notice before amendment. That has to do with the,
Well, that
Yes, so this is a separate topic, it's a separate ordinance on the agenda, so. These provisions are relics of.
another era.
Old town code of maybe a few eras ago. The amendment to, can you bring this up on the screen, please, Brooke? The amendments to. 10-1, I apologize.
10-1-8
Brought these up yet.
Yeah.
10-1-8.
She has it up if you need.
I can't see.
Do you want me to explain this one, Chris? Cause it's just kind of my legal.
So. The changes to section 10-1-8 amendments, so. This set up this sort of provided the planning commission authority that it does not have to make decisions about land use amendments. The planning commission, the town council is the land use authority for changes to land use regulations or amendments. So this notion that the commission makes a decision that can then be appealed to the council is just irrelevant. State code doesn't give the planning commission that role. And so there's no denial to be appealed to the town council. So we propose striking those two sections and making that minor revision to add text review and recommendation to the council to comply with state code in the way that sets up authority or land use amendments. So that's the first in this ordinance. Then down in 10-1-9, the process that we have to follow to amend land use regulations. So we follow this process with discussion and possible action on the Shrines Estate proposal. And then also with this WUI code matter, which we considered a land use regulation. We have to do a notice in a newspaper of general circulation within the town. And we have to do it 15 days in advance. This is in some ways a holdover of state requirements. It used to be required for the planning commission public hearing to be noticed in the newspaper. Nobody is required to notice land use amendments in the newspaper anymore. Doing so is really hard. The Tribune is the only place to do that. They only do it 2 days a week. And you can't actually get the Tribune in Alta anymore than tradition of the Tribune. 15 days notice is a long time before a meeting. So we propose to move that to 10. And I'll just point out that state code does not require the town council to hold a public hearing to make a land use amendment. The public hearing is required at the planning commission, then that land use amendment can go to the council, noticed in a regular meeting. And so we, as it's written, we would retain the requirement under town code for the council to hold a public hearing on land use amendments. We can talk about that. I mean, of course, if we do it this way here, we do have to under code, under town code, have a public hearing in December when we do that WUI code adoption. So part of the rationale, part of my rationale leaving this in was that you don't make that many land use amendments, but we probably ought to start making them routinely to sort of keep up with the times. And changes in state code, so it does create a burden, you can always elect to have public hearings at your direction or otherwise. At the town council, so anyways, those are the code amendments, those are the amendments to town code that this ordinance 2025-05 would effect.
I don't have any trouble with any of these amendments. I think we should vote yes for them.
Okay. Dan, you wanted to say anything on this?
No, I say we do that.
Okay, Carolyn?
No.
Make a motion to adopt 2025-0-5, amending section 10-1-9 amendments, and section 10-1-9 hearing and publication of notice before amendment.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
We're gonna do roll call.
Oh, roll call.
I know how much you love it.
Yeah.
Councilmember Ansel.
Yes.
Councilmember Byrne.
Yes.
Oh, he held up.
I
his
need a
hand.
verbal, I'm sorry.
No, I said yes. Did you not hear me?
Oh, sorry, just sometimes the Zoom doesn't translate.
Sorry.
Apologies.
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
thank you, I heard you loud and clear. And Mayor Burke,
Yes.
motion passes, thank you.
Okay, so now on item 11, discussion possible action to adopt resolution 2025-R-27, amending the fiscal 25 budgets. We had quite a discussion on this earlier in the evening. Is there anything further to say?
We should adopt, these changes are all necessary and we should adopt this proposed budget.
Concur.
Is that a motion, John?
I'll make it a motion. I move that we adopt the proposed budget amendment. I wasn't as
That
good
is
as
resolution
motion would have been.
2025-R-27.
Second.
Okay,
Councilmember Ansel,
Yes.
Councilmember Byrne,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling.
Yes.
Thank you, and Mayor Burke,
yes.
motion passes, thanks.
Item 12, discussion of possible action to adopt resolution 2025-R-28, amending the capital projects plan.
And this is just to make sure all documents are reading the same numbers. It's the same numbers for this annual year. In
Okay.
FY 26, so it's reflecting the amendments from the budget that you just passed. And it pushes the one of the projects forward. 1 year, the
water line.
console or something, it pushes that forward.
Okay,
That's the only changes.
so any further discussion on this?
I would say that most of these changes are to sort of manage the cash flow situation. And I support that, so I'm gonna vote yes on this one, and I think we should pass it.
Okay, is that a motion?
I could
One of
make
you
it,
guys.
if I could read this,
Yeah. One of you guys.
I move that we approve resolution number 2025-R-28. The replacement of the town capital projects plan.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right,
Councilmember Ansel,
Yes.
Councilmember Byrne,
Yes.
thank you. Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke,
yes.
motion passes.
Discussion and possible action to adopt resolution 2025-R-29, amending the town fee schedule.
Correct, so we put a staff report explaining the scenario for this. The current fee schedule just didn't really give us a good direction on how to do the math. To answer community members, Margaret Burke's question earlier about how would the late fee, when would be applied in the fee schedule edit, it says per month. So if you are late on your bill, you would in December, you would get charged as a resident the $5 fee. If you were late in January, you get charged another $5 and like so on. I will say this proposal is very conservative and I think in the favor of our businesses and our residents. It's a very modest late fee. To be perfectly honest, most of our customers pay on time. We deal with these situations very rarely, and so we just were very modest. In how we proposed it. And we wanted it to be easy to implement, to work with our software, and be better understood. So, any questions?
That's the best reason to do it is because it'll integrate better with the auto pay feature.
Correct.
That's a good reason to do it.
I move that we adopt resolution 2025-R-29 as stated on the paper I'm looking at.
I second.
Councilmember Ansel.
Yes.
Councilmember Byrne.
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan.
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling.
Yes.
And Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, is there any new business?
Kind of the baritone thing. Could I ask a question about trees with that? I'm not looking to go back and stir the pot on the other thing. How does a dead tree fit into the ordinance? Is a dead tree a mature tree?
No, I think you can just cut those down.
You can just
I
cut
mean,
them
John
down.
said- Golder was unable to join, he may still be on YouTube, but John, I remember John in the planning commission meeting. I think describing that people would call him about dead trees and he'd say, oh yeah, that was cut down or something, so. I wouldn't consider a dead tree to be a quote unquote mature tree, yeah.
But not living under the protection of the mature tree ordinance thing. Like submit a site plan and the whole process, just, you can cut down a dead tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think that makes sense. I think the important thing to recognize with dead trees is that they're actually hazard. Most of the dead trees are beetle kill. And if we really want to focus on something, we could focus on proper disposal of the dead tree after you cut it down, right? You don't want to just leave it on the floor because the beetles all leave that tree and go to another tree. You want to actually get it out of the can.
Yeah, no, there's a very specific thing you're supposed to do with a sick tree, you're not supposed to go out and cut it down, so probably, should call I don't know, but, a forester. Or maybe someone from the ski area, they've got an expert, tree health program and they know the protocols, so. I mean, I'd love to have a more robust update to that code section because there's a lot it leaves out. There's a lot. There's too much of a burden in some cases, there's not enough of a burden, and there's stuff that's left unregulated that needs to be regulated. But we've got so much to do. I think we could take 6 months working on a comprehensive update to that, and we don't have the bandwidth to do it, so. Right, like you say, John, I think a lot of this stuff would transpire in a phone call with John in the past. And that's the way it's gonna work in the future too. I assure you, I'm not John, but yes, a lot happens over the phone.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. Time is of the essence in some of these things, particularly dead trees. And if we turn that into a 2 or 3 month process, and it doesn't get taken out this year, you just always have the chance it gets knocked over by the winter. Now the beetles are on the ground and moving. I don't know, man. I think it's in our best interest to have the process for removing a dead tree stay fairly simple. And we should, again, if we're going to focus on something, we should focus on the disposal of the dead tree.
Hey folks, excuse me, I gotta punch out. I gotta go back up on the mountain, but it's great seeing everybody, and I'll talk to you guys next month. Thanks. Sorry.
Okay.
All good.
Howard.
3 o'clock in the morning.
I was gonna add something, I attended the business meeting yesterday, I know Molly and Roger were there. And then something just to put on record for anyone listening on YouTube is that with the passing of the traction law, they now can enforce ticketing and they can enforce the sticker program. So I know Mike mentioned trying to get a sticker truck up here for a community sticker event, but I do believe that the plan this winter is to start enforcing and ticketing if for people that don't have the traction, when the traction lights signs are on. And then also they'll be able to start enforcing the sticker program, which was not quite really enforced, but more just a volunteer, put a sticker on your car. But I didn't want to say that for any community members. I know that most of us that live up here capable in the snow, but there's a chance that if you don't have the right tires and you're trying to come home to Alpha, that you could get a ticket. So I just wanted to put it out there that that is possible now. It wasn't before.
Any other new business?
Well, I just want to say, Chris, I appreciate your last comment there, and that's good to hear. And I think we should be able to come up with some language that works well for you, but avoids burdening the homeowner needlessly. So thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second your motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, aye. All right.
Thank you.
Good,
Hopefully it might take longer than.
Now the round of the streets are gonna. No matter what, it always succeeds, it's a matter of time, no matter what, it always falls.